are you there?
Yeah, hey, what's up?
What's going on? Enigmentum, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed political analyst, Substack writer, writes for other outlets as well now, not just Substack. It's starting, it's beginning, and I'm sharing the screen so you can watch it with me.
Yeah.
We're live from Georgia, a key battleground state in the race for the White House. In just moments,
I'm stoked. I'm tapped in. I'm locked in.
I'm not stressed
as their
at all.
party's presumptive nominees, a first in American history. We want to welcome our viewers in the United States.
I love how early they did this. They did this for the content.
In Atlanta. This is the CNN presidential debate.
No, CNN was really desperate for the ratings, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, but for me too. They're throwing us all a bone here.
Oh my God. Oh, it's unbelievable.
And CNN Espanol. This is a pivotal moment between President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump in their rematch for the nation's highest office. Each will make his case to the American people with just over 4 months until Election Day. Good evening, I'm Dana Bash, anchor of CNN's Inside Politics and co-anchor of State of the Union.
I'm Jake Tapper, anchor of CNN's The Lead and co-anchor of State of the Union.
Fake
Dana
Tapper.
and I will co-moderate this evening. Our job is to facilitate a debate between the two candidates tonight. Before we introduce them, we want to share the rules of the debate with the audience at home. Former President Trump will be on the left side of the screen. President Biden will be appearing on the right. A coin toss determines their positions. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer a question.
I couldn't hear you.
What
did you say?
They're not going to let them interrupt each other anymore. They like have like they turn off the mics.
At the moderator's discretion.
It's a shame.
For a candidate to speak, his microphone will be turned on, and his opponent's microphone will be turned off. Should a candidate interrupt when his microphone is muted, he will be difficult to understand.
YouTube has better quality.
At home. At the end of the debate, each candidate will get 2 minutes for closing statements.
Oh shit!
There is no studio audience tonight.
He's already walking on the YouTube one. It's in the future. Oh God!
Oh no, not the walk.
Oh no! Welcome the 45th president of the United States, Donald Trump.
He walks like shit too. He's walking like. Oh, he's got no riz.
Going walk for walk.
Oh, he's got no riz. He's got no riz.
How is he going slower?
He's walking rizless.
Gentlemen, thanks so much for being here. Let's begin the debate, and let's start with the issue that voters consistently say is their top concern: the economy. President Biden, inflation has slowed, but prices remain high. Since you took office, the price of essentials has increased. For example, a basket of groceries that cost $100 then now costs more than $120.
Oof, they're coming in hot.
And typical home prices have jumped more than 30%. What do you say to voters who feel they are worse off under your presidency than they were under President Trump?
We got to take a look at what I was left when I became president.
Oh, he sounds like shit.
Mr. Trump left.
No, he needs to get a cold.
It was in free fall. The pandemic was so badly handled. Many people were dying. All he said was, it's not that serious. Just inject a little bleach into your arm. You'll be all right. The economy collapsed. There were no jobs. Unemployment rate rose to 15%. It was terrible. And so what we had to do was try to put things back together again. And that's exactly what we began to do. We created 15,000 new jobs. We brought out the position where we have 800,000 new manufacturing jobs. But there's more to be done. There's more to be done. Working class people are still in trouble. I come from Scranton, Pennsylvania. I come of a household where the kitchen table, if the things weren't able to be met during the month, it was a problem. Price of eggs, the price of gas,
cracked
the price
out.
of housing, the price of a whole range of things. That's why I'm working so hard to make sure I deal with those problems. And we're going to make sure that we reduce the price of housing. We're going to make sure we build 2 million new units. We're going to make sure we cap rents so corporate greed can't take over. The combination, what I was left with in corporate greed, is the reason why we're in this problem right now. In addition to that, we're in a situation where if you take a look at all that was done in his administration, he didn't do much at all. By the time he left, things were in chaos, literally chaos. And so we put things back together. We created, I said, those jobs. We make sure we had a situation where we brought down the price of prescription drugs, which is a major issue for many people, to $15 for insulin shot as opposed to $400. No senior has to pay more than $200 for any drug, all the drugs they can include beginning next year. And the situation is and we're going to make that available to everybody, to all Americans. So we're working to bring down the price around the kitchen table, and that's what we're going to get done.
Thank you, President Trump.
We have the greatest economy in the history of our country. We have never done so well. Everybody was amazed by it. Other countries were copying us. We got hit with COVID, and when we did, we spent the money necessary so we wouldn't end up in a Great Depression, the likes of which we had in 1929. By the time we finished, so we did a great job. We got a lot of credit for the economy, a lot of credit for the military, and no wars, and so many other things. Everything was rocking good. But the thing we never got the credit for, and we should have, is getting us out of that COVID mess. He created mandates that was a disaster for our country. But other than that, we had given them back a country where the stock market actually was higher than pre-COVID, and nobody thought that was even possible. The only jobs he created are for illegal immigrants and bounce-back jobs, a bounce back from the COVID. He has not done a good job. He's done a poor job, and inflation's killing our country. It is absolutely killing us.
Thank you. President Biden?
Well, look, the greatest economy in the world, he's the only one who thinks that, I think. I don't know anybody else who thinks he had the greatest economy in the world. And, you know, the fact of the matter is that we found ourselves in a situation where his economy, he rewarded the wealthy. He had the largest tax cut in American history, $2 trillion. He raised a deficit larger than any president has in any one term. He's the only president other than Herbert Hoover who's lost more jobs than he had when he began, since Herbert Hoover. The idea that he did something that was significant. And the military, you know, when he was president, they were still killing people in Afghanistan. He didn't do anything about that. When he was president, we were still finding ourselves in a position where you had a notion that we were this safe country. The truth is, I'm the only president this century that doesn't have this decade, that doesn't have any troops dying anywhere in the world like he did.
President Trump, I want to follow up if I can.
Am I allowed to respond to him?
Well, I'm going to ask you a follow-up. You can do whatever you want with the minute that we give you. I want to follow up. You want to impose a 10% tariff on all goods coming into the U.S. How will you ensure that that doesn't drive prices even higher?
It's not going to drive them higher. It's just going to cost countries that have been ripping us off for years, like China and many others, in all fairness to China. It's going to just force them to pay us a lot of money, reduce our deficit tremendously, and give us a lot of power for other things. But he made a statement. The only thing he was right about is I gave you the largest tax cut in history. I also gave you the largest regulation cut in history. That's why we had all the jobs. And the jobs went down, and then they bounced back, and he's taking credit for bounce-back jobs. You can't do that. He also said he inherited 9% inflation. Now, he inherited almost no inflation, and it stayed that way for 14 months. And then it blew up under his leadership because they spent money like a bunch of people that didn't know what they were doing. And they don't know what they were doing. It was the worst, probably the worst administration in history. There's never been. And as far as Afghanistan is concerned, I was getting out of Afghanistan, but we were getting out with dignity, with strength, with power. He got out. It was the most embarrassing day in the history of our country's life.
President Trump, over the last 8 years, under both of your administrations, the national debt soared to record highs. And according to a new nonpartisan analysis, President Trump, your administration approved $8.4 trillion in new debt, while so far, President Biden, you've approved $4.3 trillion in new debt. So, former President Trump, many of the tax cuts that you signed into law are set to expire next year. You want to extend them and go even further, you say. With the U.S. facing trillion-dollar deficits and record debt, why should top earners and corporations pay even less in taxes than they do now?
Because the tax cuts spurred the greatest economy that we've ever seen just prior to COVID. And even after COVID, it was so strong that we were able to get through COVID much better than just about any other country. But we spurred, that tax spurred. Now, when we cut the taxes, as an example, the corporate tax was cut down to 21% from 39%, plus beyond that. We took in more revenue with much less tax, and companies were bringing back trillions of dollars back into our country. The country was going like never before, and we were ready to start paying down debt. We were ready to start using the liquid gold right under our feet, the oil and gas right under our feet. We were going to have something that nobody else has had. We got hit with COVID. We did a lot to fix it. I gave him an unbelievable situation with all of the therapeutics and all of the things that we came up with. We gave him something great. Remember, more people died under his administration, even though we had largely fixed it. More people died under his administration than our administration, and we were right in the middle of it, something which a lot of people don't like to talk about. But he had far more people dying in his administration. He did the mandate, which is a disaster, mandating it. The vaccine went out. He did a mandate on the vaccine, which is the thing that people
Trump 100% would have done that too.
About the vaccine. And he did a very poor job, just a very poor job.
Trump 100% would have done that.
Not only poor there, but throughout the entire world, we're no longer respected as
He's the vax king.
They don't respect our leadership.
Yeah, he's trying to be smart
now. They don't respect the United States anymore. We're like a third world nation between weaponization of his election, trying to go after his political opponent, all of the things he's done. We've become like a third world nation, and it's a shame. The damage he's done to our country. And I'd love to ask him, and will, why he allowed millions of people to come in here from prisons, jails, and mental institutions to come into our country and destroy our country.
President Trump, we will get to immigration later in this block. President Biden, I want to give you an opportunity to respond to this question about the national debt.
He had the largest national debt of any president in a 4-year period, number one. Number two, that $2 trillion tax cut benefited the very wealthy. What I'm going to do is fix the tax system. For example, we have 1,000 trillionaires in America. I mean, billionaires in America.
Oof.
And what's happening? They're in a situation where they, in fact, pay 8.2% in taxes. If they just paid 24%, 25%, either one of those numbers, they'd raise $500 billion, I should say, in a 10-year period. We'd be able to wipe out his debt. We'd be able to help make sure that all those things we need to do, child care, elder care, making sure that we continue to strengthen our health care system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the with the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with, look.
Oh, no.
No, not the side eye.
Oh, no.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
Oh, they cut him
right.
off.
He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death, and he's destroying Medicare because all of these people are coming in. They're putting them on Medicare. They're putting them on Social Security. They're going to destroy Social Security. This man is going to single-handedly destroy Social Security. These millions and millions of people coming in, they're trying to put them on Social Security. He will wipe out Social Security. He will wipe out Medicare. So he was right in the way he finished that sentence. And it's a shame. What's happened to our country in the last 4 years is not to be believed. Foreign countries, I'm friends with a lot of people, they cannot believe what happened to the United States of America.
He needs to get up and beat his ass.
They don't like us.
He needs to fight them physically. It's over.
They think we're stupid. They think we're very stupid people. What we're doing for other countries, and they do nothing for us. What this man has done is absolutely criminal.
Does he not realize that the camera's on him even when he's not talking?
This is the first
what was going on during the State of the
election
Union? Did they get like a different
Supreme
guy
Court
for that?
overturned Roe v. Wade. This morning, the court ruled on yet another abortion case, temporarily allowing emergency abortions to continue in Idaho, despite that state's restrictive ban. Former President Trump, you take credit for the decision to overturn Roe v. Wade, which returned the issue of abortion to the states.
Come on, good. Bring it
However,
back. This is a good one. This is a good one for the Democrats. Come on, Joe. Don't fuck this up, Joe.
Stop the fact.
To abortion pills. They're used in about 2/3 of all abortions. As president, would you block abortion medication?
First of all, the Supreme Court just approved the abortion bill, and I agree with their decision to have done that, and I will not block it. And if you look at this whole question that you're asking, complex but not really complex. 51 years ago, you had Roe v. Wade, and everybody wanted to get it back to the states. Everybody, without exception. Democrats, Republicans, liberals, conservatives. Everybody wanted it back. Religious leaders. And what I did is I put 3 great Supreme Court justices on the court, and they happened to vote in favor of killing Roe v. Wade and moving it back to the states.
Yeah, they did it on their own.
That everybody wanted.
How would you say killing?
10 years ago or so, they started talking about how many weeks and how many this, getting into other things. But every legal scholar throughout the world, the most
no one believes this.
Wanted it brought
Trump
back to
doesn't
the states.
believe this.
I did that.
No one believes this
Are working
statement.
it out. If you look at Ohio, it was a decision that was an end result that was a little bit more liberal than you would have thought. Kansas, I would say the same thing. Texas is different. Florida is different. But they're all making their own decisions right now. And right now, the states control it. That's the vote of the people. Like Ronald Reagan, I believe in the exceptions. I am a person that believes. And frankly, I think it's important to believe in the exceptions. Some people, you have to follow your heart. Some people don't believe in that. But I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and the life of the mother. I think it's very important.
This is a trash answer,
Some
but he
people
sounds
don't. Follow your heart.
energetic.
But you have to get elected also. And because that has to do with other things. You got to get elected. The problem they have is they're radical because they will take the life of a child in the 8th month, the 9th month, and even after birth. After birth, if you look at the former governor of Virginia, he was willing to do this. He said, we'll put the baby aside and we'll determine what we do with the baby, meaning we'll kill the baby. What happened is we brought it back to the states, and the country is
States'
now
rights is
coming
dumb.
together on this
States'
issue.
rights is dumb because that means New York could be able to murder a baby then. Like, it's just so stupid. Oh, states' rights to murder babies? Like, that doesn't make sense.
That the vast majority of constitutional scholars supported Roe when it was decided. Supported Roe. And that's this idea that they're all against it is just ridiculous. And this is the guy who says the state should be able to have it. We're in a state where in 6 weeks, you don't even know whether you're pregnant or not, but you cannot see a doctor, and have him decide on what your circumstances are, whether you need help.
He said him as a doctor. He's not woke.
Do this is a little like saying we're going to turn civil rights back to the states. Let each state have a different rule. Look, there's so many young women who have been, including a young woman who just was murdered, and he went to the funeral. The idea that she was murdered by an immigrant coming in.
You're talking about abortion, man.
Here's the deal. There's a lot of young women are being raped by their in-laws.
He's short-circuiting.
By their spouses, brothers and sisters. It's just ridiculous. And they can do nothing about it. And they try to arrest them when they cross state lines.
Thank you.
There have been many young women murdered by the same people he allows to come across our border. We have a border that's the most dangerous place anywhere in the world. Consider the most dangerous place anywhere in the world.
He said immigrant rapists,
and these killers
victims need abortions.
And they are raping and killing women. And it's a terrible thing. As far as the abortion is concerned, it is now back with the states. The states are voting. In many cases, it's frankly a very liberal decision. In many cases, it's the opposite. But they're voting, and it's bringing it back to the vote of the people, which is what everybody wanted, including the founders, if they knew about this issue, which, frankly, they didn't. But they would have. Everybody wanted brought back. Ronald Reagan wanted it brought back. He wasn't able to get it. Everybody wanted it brought back, and many presidents had tried to get it back. I was the one to do it. And again, this gives it the vote of the people, and that's where they wanted it. Every legal scholar wanted it that way.
Staying on the topic of abortion, President Biden, 7 states, I'll let you do that. This is the same topic. 7 states have no legal restrictions on how far into a pregnancy a woman can obtain an abortion. Do you support any legal limits on how late a woman should be able to terminate a pregnancy?
I supported Roe v. Wade, which had 3 trimesters. The first time is between the woman and the doctor. Second time is between the doctor and an extreme situation. The third time is between the doctor, between the woman and the state. The idea that the politicians, that the founders wanted the politicians to be the ones making decisions about women's health is ridiculous. That's the last. No politician should be making that decision. A doctor should be making those decisions. That's how it should be run. That's what you're going to do. And if I'm elected, I'm going to restore Roe v. Wade.
So that means he can take the life of the baby in the 9th month and even after birth, because some states, Democrat run, take it after birth. Again, the former governor of Virginia.
Bro, you know he practiced that line and he still fucked it.
So he's willing to, as we say, rip the baby out of the womb in the 9th month and kill the baby. Nobody wants that to happen, Democrat or Republican. Nobody wants it to happen.
That is simply not true.
Oh, they're not cutting him off.
Not provide for that. That's not the circumstance. Only if a woman's life is in danger, she's going to die. That's the only circumstance in which that can happen. But we are not for late-term abortion, period. Period, period.
Under Roe v. Wade, you have
he finally
late-term
got
abortion.
Energetic when he talked about how he won't let people get
You can do
abortions.
whatever you want. We don't think that's a good thing. We think it's a radical thing. We think the Democrats are the radicals, not the Republicans.
For 51 years, that was the law. 51 years, constitutional scholarship said it was the right way to go. 51 years, and it was taken away because this guy put very conservative members on the Supreme Court. He takes credit for taking it away. What's he going to do? What's he going to do, in fact, if the MAGA Republicans, he gets elected, and the MAGA Republicans control the Congress?
He woke up.
They pass a universal ban on abortion, period, across the board at 6 weeks or 7 or 8 or 10 weeks, something very, very conservative. Is he going to sign that bill? I'll veto it. He'll sign it.
Thank you.
Let's turn now to the issue of immigration and border security. President Biden, a record number of migrants have illegally crossed the southern border on your watch. Overwhelming border states and overburdening cities such as New York and Chicago, and in some cases causing real safety and security concerns. Given that, why should voters trust you to solve this crisis?
Because we worked very hard to get a bipartisan agreement that not only changed all of that, it made sure that we are in a situation where you had no circumstance where they could come across the border with the number of border police there are now. We significantly increased the number of asylum officers. By the way, the Border Patrol endorsed my position. In addition to that, we found ourselves in a situation where when he was president, he was separating babies from their mothers, putting them in cages, making sure the families were separated. That's not the right way to go. What I've done since I've changed the law, what's happened? I've changed it in a way that now you're in a situation where there are 40% fewer people coming across the border illegally. That's better than when he left office. And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we can do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
Total ban?
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look, we had the safest border in the history of our country. The border, all he had to do was leave it. All he had to do was leave it. He decided to open up our border, open up our country to people that are from prisons.
Hell no.
People that are from mental institutions, insane asylum, terrorists. We have the largest number of terrorists coming into our country right now. All terrorists, all over the world, not just in South America, all over the world. They come from the Middle East, everywhere. All over the world, they're pouring in. And this guy just left it open. And he didn't need legislation because I didn't have legislation. I said, close the border. We had the safest border in history. In that final couple of months of my presidency, we had, according to Border Patrol, who is great, and by the way, who endorsed me for president, but I won't say that, but they endorsed me for president.
But you did.
Brandon, just speak to him. But look, we had the safest border in history. Now we
Brandon?
have the worst border in history. There's never been anything like it. And people are dying all over the place, including the people that are coming up in caravans.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden?
The only terrorist who's done anything crossing the border is one who came along and killed under his administration, killed an al-Qaeda person come in his administration, killed 3 American soldiers. That's the only terrorist that's there. I'm not saying that no terrorist ever got through, but the idea they're emptying their prisons, we're welcoming these people, that's simply not true. There's no data to support what he said. Once again, he's exaggerating, he's lying.
President Trump, staying on the topic of immigration, you've said that you're going to carry out, quote, the largest domestic deportation operation in American history, unquote. Does that mean that you will deport every undocumented immigrant in America, including those who have jobs, including those whose spouses are citizens, and including those who have lived here for decades? And if so, how will you do it?
Just 1 second. He said we killed 3 people. The people we killed are al-Baghdadi and Soleimani. The 2 greatest terrorists, biggest terrorists anywhere in the world. And it had a huge impact on everything, not just border, on everything. He's the one that killed people with the bad water, including hundreds of thousands of people dying and also killing our citizens when they come in. We are living right now in a rat's nest. They're killing our people in New York, in California, in every state in the union because we don't have borders anymore. Every state is now a border. And because of his ridiculous, insane, and very stupid policies, people are coming in and they're killing our citizens at a level that we've never seen. We call it migrant crime.
This is just a complete falsehood.
I call it Biden migrant crime. They're killing our citizens at a level that we've never seen.
This is objectively a lie, by the way. Everything he's saying here is a complete falsehood. But of course, Biden has assumed the right-wing framing on immigration, so he's fucking cooked.
He just had the funeral
Yes.
of this girl. 12 years
This always
old.
happened.
This
has happened like constantly.
Look at his fucking face. Look at his stupid fucking face. Old man.
An uncivilized country now.
Why does he need to do this?
He just doesn't know. He opened the borders. Nobody's ever seen anything like. And we have to get a lot of these people out, and we have to get them out fast because they're going to destroy our country. Just take a look at where they're living. They're living in luxury hotels in New York City and other places. Our veterans are on the street. They're dying because he doesn't care about our veterans. He doesn't care. He doesn't like the military at all, and he doesn't care about our veterans. Nobody been worse. I had the highest.
I thought he didn't like the military because they're gay.
Taking care of the VA. He has the worst. He's gotten rid of all the things that I approved. Choice that I got through Congress, all of the different things I approved, they abandoned. We had by far the highest, and now it's down in less than half because he's done all these great things that we did. And I think he did it just because I approved it, which is crazy. But he has killed so many people at our border by allowing all of these people to come in. And it's a very sad day in America.
President Biden, you have the mic.
Every single thing he said is a lie. Every single one. For example, veterans are a hell of a lot better off since I passed the PACT Act. 1 million of them now have insurance, and their families have it. Their families have it because what happened, whether it was Agent Orange or burn pits, they're all being covered now. And he opposed, his group opposed that. We're also in a situation where we have great respect for veterans. My son spent a year in Iraq, living right next to one of those burn pits, came back with stage 4 glioblastoma. I was recently in France for D-Day, and I spoke all about those heroes that died. I went to the World War II cemetery, World War I cemetery he refused to go to. He was standing with his 4-star general, and he told me, he said, I don't want to go in there because they're a bunch of losers and suckers. My son was not a loser, was not a sucker. You're the sucker. You're the loser.
Whoa.
President Trump.
First of all, that
he's
was a
mad.
made-up quote, suckers and losers. They made it up. It was in a third-rate magazine that's failing, like many of these magazines. He made that up. He put it in commercials. We've notified him. We had 19 people that said I didn't say it. And think of this. Who would say I'm at a cemetery or I'm talking about our veterans? Because nobody's taken better care. I'm so glad this came up, and he brought it up. There's nobody that's taken better care of our soldiers than I have. To think that I would, in front of generals and others, say suckers and losers. We have 19 people that said it was never said by me. It was made up by him, just like Russia was made up, just like the 51 intelligence agents are made up, just like the new thing with the 16 economists are talking. It's the same thing. 51 intelligence agents said that the laptop was Russia disinformation. It wasn't. That came from his son, Hunter. It wasn't Russia disinformation. He made up the suckers and losers, so he should apologize to me right now.
4-star general standing to your side who was on your staff who said you said it, period. That's number one. And number two, the idea that I have to apologize to you for anything along the line. We've done more for veterans than any president has in American history. And they now are in their family. The only sacred obligation we have as a country is to care for our veterans when they come home and their families and equip them when they go to war. That's what we're doing. That's what the VA is doing now. They're doing more for veterans than ever before in our history.
All right, thank you so much.
Let's move to the topic of foreign policy. I want to begin with Russia's war against Ukraine, which is now in its 3rd year. Former President Trump, Russian President Vladimir Putin says he'll only end this war if Russia keeps the Ukrainian territory it has already claimed and Ukraine abandons its bid to join NATO. Are Putin's terms acceptable to you?
First of all, our veterans and our soldiers can't stand this guy. They can't stand him. They think he's the worst commander-in-chief, if that's what you call him, that we've ever had. They can't stand him. So let's get that straight. And they like me more than just about any of them. And that's based on every single bit of information. As far as Russia and Ukraine, if we had a real president, the president that knew, that was respected by Putin, he would have never invaded Ukraine. A lot of people are dead right now, much more than people know. You know, they talk about numbers. You can double those numbers, maybe triple those numbers. He did nothing to stop it. In fact, I think he encouraged Russia from going in. I'll tell you what happened. He was so bad with Afghanistan. It was such a horrible embarrassment, most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. that when Putin watched that and he saw the incompetence, that he should have fired those generals, like I fired the one that you mentioned, and so he's got no love lost. But he should have fired those generals. No general got fired for the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, Afghanistan, where we left billions of dollars of equipment behind. We lost 13 beautiful soldiers, and 38 soldiers were obliterated. And by the way, we left people behind, too. We left American citizens behind. When Putin saw that, he said, you know what? I think we're going to go in and maybe take this was his dream. I talked to him about it, his dream. The difference is he never would have invaded Ukraine. Never. Just like Israel would have never been invaded in a million years by Hamas.
Wait, what? Now he's talking about Israel? What?
Because Iran was broke with me. I wouldn't let anybody do business with them. They ran out of money. They were broke. They had no money for Hamas. They had no money for anything. No money for terror. That's why you had no terror at all during my administration. This place, the whole world is blowing up under him.
President Biden?
I've never heard so much malarkey in my whole life. Look, the fact of the matter is that we're in a situation where, let's take the last point first. Iran attacked American troops, caused brain damage for a number of these troops, and he did nothing about it. Recently, not when he was president. They attacked. He said they're just having headaches. That's all it is. He didn't do a thing when the attack took place, number one.
He's talking about Havana?
Number two, we got over 100,000 Americans and others out of Afghanistan during that airlift. Number three, we found ourselves in a situation where, if you take a look at what Trump did in Ukraine, this guy told Trump, do whatever you want, and do whatever you want. And that's exactly what Trump did to Putin, encourage him, do whatever you want. And he went in. And listen to what he said when he went in. He was going to take Kyiv in 5 days, remember? Because it's part of the old Soviet Union. That's what he wanted to reestablish, Kyiv. And he, in fact, didn't do it at all. He wasn't able to get it done. And they've lost thousands and thousands of troops, 500,000 troops.
President Trump,
I never
come back
said
to you
that.
For 1 minute, I just want to go back to my original question, which is, are Putin's terms acceptable to you? Keeping the territory in Ukraine?
Acceptable. No, they're not acceptable. But look, this is a war that never should have started. If we had a leader in this war, he led everybody along. He's given $200 billion now or more to Ukraine. He's given $200 billion. That's a lot of money. I don't think there's ever been anything like it. Every time that Zelensky comes to this country, he walks away with $60 billion. He's the greatest salesman ever. And I'm not knocking him. I'm not knocking anything. I'm only saying the money that we're spending on this war, and we shouldn't be spending, it should have never happened. I will have that war settled between Putin and Zelensky as president-elect before I take office on January 20th. I'll have that war settled. People being killed so needlessly, so stupidly, and I will get it settled, and I'll get it settled fast before I take office.
President Biden, you have a minute.
The fact is that Putin is a war criminal. He's killed thousands and thousands of people. And he has made one thing clear. He wants to reestablish what was part of the Soviet Empire, not just a piece. He wants all of Ukraine. That's what he wants. And then do you think he'll stop there? Do you think he'll stop when if he takes Ukraine? What do you think happens to Poland? What do you think of Belarus? What do you think happens to those NATO countries?
Belarus.
And so if you want a war,
Putin's going to take
find out what
Belarus.
he's going to do, because if in fact he does what he says and walks away, and by the way, all that money we give Ukraine are from weapons we make here in the United States. We give them the weapons, not the money at this point. And our NATO allies have produced as much funding for Ukraine as we have. That's why we're strong.
Thank you. Moving on to the Middle East. In October, Hamas attacked Israel, killing more than 1,000
Yo, get ready for the dick riding. Get ready for the dick riding.
Among those held and thought to still be alive are 5 Americans. Israel's response has killed thousands of Palestinians and created a humanitarian crisis in Gaza. President Biden, you've put forward a proposal to resolve this conflict, but so far Hamas has not released the remaining hostages, and Israel is continuing its military offensive in Gaza. So what additional leverage will you use to get Hamas and Israel to end the war? You have 2 minutes.
Number one, everyone from the United Nations Security Council straight through to the G7, to the Israelis, and Netanyahu himself have endorsed the plan I put forward. Endorsed the plan I put forward, which has 3 stages to it. The first stage is trade the hostages.
That's not an answer. You're just repeating the fucking deal that he's saying no to.
Ceasefire with additional conditions.
The question is, what will you do to pressure
the
him?
end of the war. The only one who wants the war to continue is Hamas. Number one, they're the only ones standing out. We're still pushing hard to get them to accept. In the meantime, what's happened? In Israel, we're finding that the only thing I've denied Israel was 2,000-pound bombs. They don't work very well in populated areas. They kill a lot of innocent people. We're providing Israel with all the weapons they need and when they need them. And by the way, I'm the guy that organized the world against Iran when they had a full-blown intercontinental ballistic missile attack on Israel. No one was hurt. No one Israeli was accidentally killed, and it just stopped. We saved Israel. We are the biggest producer of support for Israel of anyone in the world. And so they're 2 different things. Hamas cannot be allowed to be continued. We continue to send our experts and our intelligence people as to how they can get Hamas like we did bin Laden. You don't have to do it. And by the way, they've been greatly weakened, Hamas, greatly weakened, and they should be. They should be eliminated. But you've got to be careful for using certain weapons among population centers.
Just going back to Ukraine for 1 second. We have an ocean separating us. The European nations together have spent $100 billion, or maybe more than that, less than us. Why doesn't he call them and say, you got to put up your money like I did with NATO? I got them to put up hundreds of billions of dollars. The Secretary General of NATO said Trump did the most incredible job I've ever seen. They wouldn't have any. They were going out of business. We were spending almost 100% of the money was paid by us. He didn't do that. He's getting all. You got to ask these people to put up the money. We're over $100 billion more spent, and it has a bigger impact on them because of location, because we have an ocean in between. You got to ask them. As far as Israel and Hamas, Israel's the one that wants to go. He said the only one that wants to keep going is Hamas. Actually, Israel is the one, and you should let him go and let him finish the job. He doesn't want to do it. He's become like a Palestinian, but they don't like him because he's a very bad Palestinian. He's a weak one.
What the fuck was that?
So much foolishness. This is a guy who wants to get out of NATO. You're going to stay in NATO?
What?
He's going to pull out of NATO. The idea that we have our strength lies in our alliances as well. It may be a big ocean, but if you're ever able to avoid a war in Europe, a major war in Europe, what happens if, in fact, you have Putin continue to go into NATO? We have an Article 5 agreement. Attack on one is attack on all. You want to start the nuclear war he keeps talking about, go ahead. Let Putin go in and control Ukraine and then move on to Poland and other places. See what happens then. He has no idea what the hell he's talking about. And by the way, I got 50 other nations around the world to support Ukraine, including Japan and South Korea, because they understand that this kind of dislocation has a serious threat to the whole world peace. No major war in Europe has ever been able to be contained.
This is completely out of
President
control.
Trump, just to follow up, would you support the creation of an independent Palestinian state in order to achieve peace in the region?
I'd have to see, but before we do that, the problem we have is that we spend all the money. So they kill us on trade. I made great trade deals with the European nations because if you add them up, they're about the same size economically. Their economy is about the same size as the United States. And they were no cars, they don't want anything that we have, but we're supposed to take their cars, their food, their everything, their agriculture. I changed that. But the big thing I changed is they don't want to pay. And the only reason that he can play games with NATO is because I got them to put up hundreds of billions of dollars. I said, and he's right about this, I said, no, I'm not going to support NATO if you don't pay. They asked me that question, would you guard us against Russia at a very secret meeting of the 28 states at that time, nations at that time? And I said, no, if you don't pay, I won't do that. And you know what happened? Billions and billions of dollars came flowing in the next day and the next months. But now we're in the same position. We're paying everybody's bills.
Let's turn to the issue of democracy. Former President Trump I want to ask you about January 6, 2021. After you rallied your supporters that day, some of them stormed the Capitol to stop the constitutionally mandated counting of electoral votes. As president, you swore an oath to, quote, preserve, protect, and defend, unquote, the Constitution. What do you say to voters who believe that you violated that oath through your actions and inaction on January 6th and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I don't think too many believe that. And let me tell you about January 6th. On January 6th, we had a great border. Nobody coming through, very few. On January 6th, we were energy independent. On January 6th, we had the lowest taxes ever. We had the lowest regulations ever. On January 6th, we were respected all over the world. All over the world, we were respected. And then he comes in, and we're now laughed at. We're like a bunch of stupid people. What happened to the United States' reputation under this man's leadership is horrible, including weaponization, which I'm sure at some point you'll be talking about, where he goes after his political opponent because he can't beat him fair and square.
You have 80 seconds left. My question was, what do you say to those voters who believe that you violated your constitutional oath through your actions and inaction on January 6, 2021, and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I didn't say that to anybody. I said peacefully and patriotically. And Nancy Pelosi, if you just watched the news from 2 days ago, on tape to her daughter, who's a documentary filmmaker, they say, but she's saying, oh, no, it's my responsibility. I was responsible for this. Because I offered her 10,000 soldiers or National Guard, and she turned them down. And the mayor of, in writing, by the way, the mayor, in writing, turned it down, the mayor of D.C. They turned it down. I offered 10,000 because I could see, I had virtually nothing to do. They asked me to go make a speech. I could see what was happening. Everybody was saying they're going to be there on January 6th. They're going to be there. And I said, you know what? There's a lot of people coming. You could feel it. You could feel it, too, and you could feel it. And I said, they ought to have some National Guard or whatever. And I offered it to her. And she now admits that she turned it down. And it was the same day she was, I don't know, she can't be very happy with her daughter because it made her into a liar. She said, I take full responsibility for January 6th.
President Biden?
Look, he encouraged those folks to go up on Capitol Hill, number one. I sat in that dining room off the Oval Office. He sat there for 3 hours watching, begging, being begged by his vice president and a number of his colleagues on the Republican side as well to do something, to call for a stop, to end it. Instead, they talked about these people being patriots and great patrons of America. In fact, he says he'll now forgive them for what they've done. They've been convicted. He says he wants to commute their sentences and say that no. But he went to every single court in the nation. I don't know how many cases. Scores of cases, including the Supreme Court. And they said, no, this guy is responsible for doing what was done. He didn't do a damn thing. And these people should be in jail. And they should be the ones who are being held accountable. And he wants to let them all out. And now he says if he loses again, such a whiner that he is, that it could be a bloodbath.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
What they've done to some people that are so innocent, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. What you have done, how you've destroyed the lives of so many people. When they ripped down Portland, when they ripped down many other cities, you go to Minnesota, Minneapolis, what they've done there with the fires all over the city. If I didn't bring in the National Guard, that city would have been destroyed. When you look at all of they took over big chunks of Seattle. I was all set to bring in the National Guard. They heard that. They saw them coming, and they left immediately. What he said about this whole subject is so off. Peacefully patriotic. One other thing. The Unselect Committee, which is basically two horrible Republicans that are all gone now, out of office, and Democrats, all Democrats, they destroyed and deleted all of the information they found because they found out we were right. We were right. And they deleted and destroyed all of the information. They should go to jail for that. If a Republican did that, they'd go to jail.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, I want to give you a minute.
The only person on this stage is a convicted felon is the man I'm looking at right now.
Oh, he said it!
And the fact of the matter is, what he's telling you is simply not true. The fact is that there was no effort on his part to stop what was going on up in
Wait, what the fuck?
Capitol Hill. And all those people, every one of those who were convicted, turned over desks, turned them over statues. The idea
Pay
those
up.
people are patriots? Come on. When I asked him the first two debates we had first time around, I said, will you denounce the Proud Boys? He said, no, I'll tell them to stand by. The idea he's refusing, will you denounce these guys? Will you denounce the people we're talking about now? Will you denounce the people who attacked that Capitol? What are you going to do?
I'm going to give you a minute, President Trump, for a follow-up question I have. After a jury convicted you of 34 felonies last month, you said if reelected, you would, quote, have every right to go after, unquote, your political opponents. You just talked about members of the Select Committee on January 6th going to jail. Your main political opponent is standing on stage with you tonight. Can you clarify exactly what it means about you feeling you have every right to go after your political opponents?
Well, I said my retribution is going to be success. We're going to make this country successful again, because right now it's a failing nation. My retribution is going to be success. But when he talks about a convicted felon, his son is a convicted felon at a very high level. His son is convicted, going to be convicted probably numerous other times. Should have been convicted before, but his Justice Department let the statute of limitations lapse on the most important things. But he could be a convicted felon as soon as he gets out of office. Joe could be a convicted felon with all of the things that he's done. He's done horrible things. All of the death
hypothetically,
the border.
He's like, hypothetically, we're all convicted felons, potentially.
We're going to want $1 billion, or you change the prosecutor. Otherwise, you're not getting $1 billion. If I ever said that, that's quid pro quo. That we're not going to do anything. We're not going to give you $1 billion unless you change your prosecutor having to do with the son. This man is a criminal. This man, you're lucky. You're lucky. I did nothing wrong. We'd have a system that was rigged and disgusting. I did nothing wrong.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, you have said, I'm coming right to you, sir. You want to respond? Go ahead. I'll give you a minute to respond.
The idea that I did anything wrong relative to what you're talking about is outrageous. It's simply a lie, number one. Number two, the idea that you have a right to seek retribution against any American just because you're president is wrong. It's simply wrong. No president's ever spoken like that before. No president in our history has spoken like that before. Number three, the crimes that you are
You can tell his strong elements. Like, you can tell when he's, like, invested. This is one of those things.
For
typical old man, doesn't give a shit about anything.
A whole range of things, of having sex with a porn star on the night while your wife was pregnant. I mean, what are you talking about? You have the morals of an alley cat.
What?
I didn't have sex with a porn star, number one. Number two, that was a case that was started and moved. They moved a high-ranking official, a DOJ, into the Manhattan DA's office to start that case. That case is going to be appealed and won. We had a very terrible judge, a horrible judge, Democrat. The prosecutor were all high-ranking Democrats, appointed people, and both the civil and the criminal. He basically went after his political opponent because he thought it was going to damage me. But when the public found out about these cases, because they understand it better than he does, he has no idea what these cases are. But when they found out about these cases, you know what they did? My poll numbers went up, way up. You know that because you're reporting it. And we took in more money in the last 2 weeks than we've ever taken in the history of any campaign. I don't think any campaign has ever taken. Hundreds of millions of dollars came pouring in because the public knows it's a scam, and it's a guy that's after his political opponent because he can't win fair and square.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, you have said, quote, Donald Trump and his MAGA Republicans are determined to destroy American democracy. Do you believe that the tens of millions of Americans who are likely to vote for President Trump will be voting against American democracy?
The more they know about what he's done, yes. The more they know about what he's done. And there's a lot more coming. He's got a lot of cases down the road coming around. You
can't rely on that. The courts are pushing it back, dumbass.
I don't know what the juries will do, but I do know he has a real problem. And so the fact that, could you ever think you hear any president say that I'm going to seek retribution? Do you ever hear any president say that I thought Hitler had some good ideas? What got me involved to run in the first place after my son had died, I decided in Iraq, because of Iraq, I said I wasn't going to run again until I saw what happened in Charlottesville, Virginia. People coming out of the woods carrying swastikas on torches, and singing the same anti-Semitic bile they sang when back in Germany. And the young woman got killed. I spoke to the mother. And they asked him, they said, what do you think of those people? The ones who got killed. the one who tried to stop it, and the ones he said, I think they're fine people on both sides. What American president would ever say, Nazis coming out of fields, carrying torches, singing the same anti-Semitic bile, carrying swastikas, were fine people? And this is the guy who says Hitler's done some good things. I'd like to know what they are. The good things Hitler's done, that's what he said. This guy has no sense of American democracy.
President Trump.
Jake, both of you know that story has been totally wiped out, because when you see the sentence, it said 100% exoneration on that story. He just keeps it going. He says he ran because of Charlottesville. He didn't run because of Charlottesville. He ran because it was his last chance. He's not equipped to be president. You know it, and I know it. It's ridiculous. We have a debate. We're trying to justify his presidency. His presidency, he's without question the worst president, the worst presidency in the history of our country. We shouldn't be having a debate about it.
Thank you, Gideon, for the 20 give the subs.
He made up the Charlottesville story, and you'll see it's debunked all over the place. Every anchor has, every reasonable anchor.
He looks so fucking confused, bro. He's gonna walk away.
Just the other day, it came out where it was fully debunked. It's a nonsense story. He knows that, and he didn't run because of Charlottesville. He used that as an excuse to run.
President Biden.
And debunked. It happened. All you have to do is listen to what was said at the time. And the idea that somehow that's the only reason I ran. I ran because I was worried a guy like this guy could get elected. If he thought they were good people coming out of that forest, carrying those woods, carrying those torches, then he didn't deserve to be president. Didn't deserve to be president at all. And the idea that he's talking about all this being fabricated, we saw with our own eyes. We saw what happened on January 6th. We saw the people breaking through the windows. We saw people occupying his own vice president. Look, there's a reason why 40 of his 44 top cabinet officers refused to endorse him this time. His vice president hasn't endorsed him this time. So why? Why? They know him well. They serve with him. Why are they not endorsing him?
Thank you, President Biden. We're going to be right back with more from the CNN presidential debate.
Bro. I've never seen a bigger fucking layup get flubbed so abysmally. Like, this is incredible. Banger after banger. They sent
He is too old. He's just actually too old.
No, it's literally. It looks
it's not
like
a perception problem.
It literally looks like he's trying to push the finish. Like, it looks like they're trying to push him through the finish line. It looks like they are trying to push him through the fucking finish line. Like, he's gonna die the moment that he's in office if he actually ends up like winning, which his chances are looking less likely after today.
Yeah, he needs to be president until he's 86. Like, he just needs to do that for some reason.
What the fuck? I mean, look, the expected thing was obviously the gyration session that we saw for Israel dick riding, and even then, like, that was whatever, right? They quickly glanced it. CNN's not gonna cover it. They don't want to fucking make up a big stink. However, the abortion question, that's a layup. They gave that to you, dog. You fucking boofed it. He
literally his worst issue.
Rapist immigrants? Like,
bring up his worst issue of every issue. He has a 20% approval rating on immigration. Abortion is the sole issue that people trust him on.
And he turned it into the issue that he's like one of the weakest on, which is so insane. I've never seen such a absolute masterclass in how to fucking genuinely just like flub clear cut alley oops. Oh my fucking Lord, dude.
The only like silver lining for this is that people already thought Biden was like this to begin with, and he was already kind of competitive still. So like it might not change anything. Like people already thought this was what he was like.
No, dude, this is not for those people though. This is not for those people. This is for Pennsylvania voters. This is for voters in like Georgia. This is for voters in. These are for like the 20% that's still like, oh, I don't really like either candidate. I don't know what the fuck's going on. Like, you know, that's the reason why it's so early. The reason why they did this so early was because the Biden team thought if Biden can perform, right, low expectations, and Biden performs, and then Trump says like a bunch of crazy nonsense, right, then like those voters will be reminded of how chaotic Donald Trump was. And there is no way that you can fucking hack job this into a manageable situation for Biden that like makes Trump look worse and Biden look better, because every fucking frame side by side, he's looking like a doddering old fool looking in the other direction. It's so fucking bad.
Staring in the space.
Yeah, and obviously the massive moment of the debate is like when he flubbed it, when he just went and then just like stopped himself.
Every moment.
I mean, it's just like the split screen is absolutely cooking him because I don't think he's aware that he's on camera all the time. And when he's on camera all the time, he just looks like he's like gazing off and seeing fucking the Grim Reaper in the other side of the goddamn room. You know what I mean? Does he still believe this pre-debate take? New article on Debate Tomorrow. While conservatives may not want to admit it.
I was trying to be conservative here. I thought that well, it doesn't matter how bad Biden does. People already think he's like terrible. He's totally out of it. So like that's going to be a wash. But like it's you do to make Trump look bad. You kind of have to like apply some pressure onto him.
Yeah.
And Biden's just not doing that at all. Honestly, it makes me kind of like appreciate like kind of bring back Hillary a little bit because like she won that first debate in 2016. She like did a good job then. Like, God,
it's actually fucking crazy. It's actually fucking crazy. It is like there are so many instances where like they're throwing Biden layups. They're like obviously tough on him too to a certain degree with like the expected issues like, you know, inflation, things like that, immigration. But like it's just it's back.
Oh,
right.
Hillary could win that debate. It happened. She went up in the polls. It was real. I don't care, Chet.
5 times the rate of white Americans. What do you say to black voters who are disappointed that you haven't made more progress?
They acknowledge they made a lot of progress, number one. The fact of the matter is there's more small black businesses that have been started than any time in history. Number two, the wages of black unemployment is the lowest level it's been in a long, long time. Number three, we're trying to provide housing for black Americans and dealing with the segregation that exists among these corporate
Come on.
collude to keep people out of their houses. And in addition to that, we find that the impact on the choice that black families have to make relative to child care is incredibly difficult. When we did the first major piece of legislation in the past, I was able to reduce black child care costs. I cut them in half. We got to make sure we provide for child care costs. We got to make sure, because when you provide those child care protections, you increase economic growth because more people can be in the job market. So there's more to be done, considerably more to be done. But we've done a great deal so far, and I'm not letting up, and they know it.
You have 49 seconds left. What do you say to black voters who are disappointed with the progress so far?
I say I don't blame them for being disappointed. Inflation is still hurting them badly. For example, I provided for the idea that any black family, first-time home buyer, should get a $10,000 tax credit to be able to buy their first home so they can get started. I made sure that we're in a situation where all those black families and those black individuals who had to take out student loans that were ballooning, that if they were engaged in nursing, doctor, and anything having to do with volunteerism, if they paid their bills for 10 years on their student debt, all the rest was forgiven after 10 years. Millions have benefited from that. And we're going to do a whole lot more for black families.
Thank you, President Trump.
And he caused the inflation. He's blaming inflation, and he's right, it's been very bad. He caused the inflation, and it's killing black families and Hispanic families and just about everybody. It's killing people. They can't buy groceries anymore. They can't. You look at the cost of food where it's doubled and tripled and quadrupled. They can't live. They're not living anymore. He caused this inflation. I gave him a country with essentially no inflation. It was perfect. It was so good. All he had to do is leave it alone. He destroyed it with his Green New scam and all this money that's being thrown out the window. He caused inflation. As sure as you're sitting there, the fact is that his big kill on the black people is the millions of people that he's allowed to come in through the border. They're taking black jobs now, and it could be 18, it could be 19, and even 20 million people. They're taking black jobs, and they're taking Hispanic jobs, and you haven't seen it yet, but you're going to see something that's going to be the worst in our history.
Thank you, President Biden.
It's going to happen. Hasn't happened yet, but will happen, I promise.
The economy was flat on its back, 15% unemployment. He decimated the economy, absolutely decimated the economy. That's why there was no inflation at the time. There were no jobs. We provided thousands of millions of jobs for individuals who are in all communities, including minority communities. We made sure that they have health insurance. We have covered, if the ACA has increased, I made sure that they're $8,000 per person in a family to get written off for health care. But this guy wants to eliminate that. They tried 50 times. He wants to get rid of the ACA again, and they're going to try again if they win. You find ourselves in a position where the idea that we're not doing any, we put more police on the street than any administration has. He wants to cut the cops. We're providing for equity and making sure people have a shot.
Oh no, they thought this was a banger.
There's a lot going on, but in inflation, he caused it by his tremendous malfeasance in the way he handled the pandemic.
Thank you. Another persistent challenge is the climate crisis. 2023 was the hottest year in recorded history, and communities across the country are confronting the devastating effects of extreme heat, intensifying wildfires, stronger hurricanes, and rising sea levels. Former President Trump, you've vowed to end your opponent's climate initiatives, but will you take any action as president to slow the climate crisis?
Well, let me just go back to what he said about the police, how close the police are to him. Almost every police group in the nation from every state is supporting Donald J. Trump. Almost every police group. And what he's done to the black population is horrible, including the fact that for 10 years he called them super predators. We can't, in the 1990s, we can't forget that. Super predators was his name, and he called it to them for 10, and they've taken great offense at it. And now
He did this before.
But when they see what I did for
He did this to Hillary Clinton and also
for the
to Joe Biden in 2020.
Black, colleges and universities where I funded them and got them all funded, and the opportunity zones with Tim, as you know, Tim Scott was incredible. He did a great job, great senator from South Carolina. He came to me with the idea, and it was a great idea. It's one of the most successful economic development acts ever in the country, opportunity zones. And the biggest beneficiary are blacks. And that's why we have the best numbers with them in maybe ever. They're saying ever. I read this morning where ever, the best numbers. He's lost much of the black population because he's done a horrible job for black people. He's also done a horrible job for Hispanics. But wait till you see these millions of people pouring into our country, and they're going to take the jobs. And it's already started, and you haven't seen anything yet. It's a disaster.
You've 38 seconds left. President Trump, will you take any action as president to slow the climate crisis?
So I want absolutely immaculate clean water, and I want absolutely clean air, and we had it. We had H2O. We had the best numbers ever.
H2O?
And we were using all forms of energy, all forms, everything. And yet, during my 4 years, I had the best environmental numbers ever. And my top environmental people gave me that statistic just before I walked on the stage, actually.
I don't know where the hell he's been. The idea that anything he said is true. I've passed the most extensive climate change legislation in history. We find ourselves, and by the way,
he's dying.
Black colleges.
He's dead.
I came up with $15 billion for HBCUs,
He's so
historic
dead.
black universities and colleges, because they don't have those. They don't have the kind of contributors that they have to build these laboratories and the like. Any black student is capable in college of doing any white student can do. They just don't have the money. But now they'll be able to get those jobs in high tech. We're in a situation where the idea that he is claiming to have done something that had the cleanest water, he hadn't done a damn thing for the environment. He pulled out of the Paris Peace Accord, Climate Accord. I immediately joined it because if we reach 1.5 degrees Celsius at any one point, there's no way back. The only existential threat to humanity is climate change, and he didn't do a damn thing about it. He wants to undo all that I've done.
The Paris Accord was going to cost us $1 trillion, and China nothing, and Russia nothing, and India nothing. It was a ripoff of the United States. And I ended it because I didn't want to waste that money because they treat us horribly. We were the only ones. It was costing us money. Nobody else was paying into it. And it was a disaster. But everything that he said just now, I'll give you an example. I heard him say before insulin. I'm the one that got the insulin down for the seniors. I took care of the seniors. What he's doing is destroying all of our medical programs because the migrants coming in, they want everybody. And look, I have the biggest heart on the stage, I guarantee you that. And I want to take care of people. But we're destroying our country. They're taking over our schools, our hospitals, and they're going to be taking over Social Security.
What are you saying,
Social
bro?
Security, Medicare, and Medicaid.
The idea is that we, in fact, we were the only ones of consequence who were not members of the Paris Accord. How can we do anything if we're not able to, the United States can't get its pollution under control? One of the largest polluters in the world, number one. We're making significant progress. By 2035, we will have cut pollution in half. We have made significant progress, and we're continuing to make progress. We set up a climate corps for thousands of young people who will learn how to deal with climate, just like the Peace Corps. And we're moving in directions that are going to significantly change the elements of cause of pollution. But the idea that he claims that he has the biggest heart up here and he's really concerned about pollution and about climate, I've not seen any indication of that. And by the way, with regard to prescription drugs, one company agreed that they would reduce the price to $35, which I was calling for, one, voluntarily. I made sure every company in the world, every pharmaceutical company, cannot have to pay.
Thank you.
And by the way,
so every day, millions of Americans struggle just to make ends meet. For many older Americans, Social Security provides a critical lifeline. President Biden, if nothing is done to Social Security, seniors will see their benefits cut in just over 10 years. Will you name tonight one specific step that you're willing to take to keep Social Security solvent?
yes, make the very wealthy begin to pay their fair share. Right now, everybody making under $170,000
Come on, this is good.
pays 6% of their
Good
income
policy talk.
of their
Raise the
paycheck.
cap. Raise the
Every single
cap.
time they get a paycheck is the time the first one they get when they're 18 years old.
He's gonna give
The
a Twitch
idea
Prime
that
to
they're
every
not-
Social
I'm
Security
not
recipient,
proposing that.
so they don't see the
Everybody
3-minute ad break at the top of the hour.
The millionaires pay 1%.
Twitch Prime is free,
1%.
folks.
So no one after
Ad break incoming.
not raise the cost of Social Security for anybody under $400,000. After that, I began to make the wealthy begin to pay their fair share by increasing from 1% beyond to be able to guarantee the program for life.
So you still have 82 seconds left. Are there any other measures that you think that would be able to help keep Social Security solvent, or is that one enough?
Well, no, that one enough will keep it solvent, but the biggest thing I'll do if we defeat
This was good.
man,
This was a good answer.
because he wants to get
I
rid of
wish he
Social
did this
Security.
more.
He thinks there's plenty to cut in Social Security. He's wanted to cut Social Security and Medicare both times. And that's what, and if you look at the program put forward by the House Republican caucus that he, I believe, supports, is in fact want to cut it as well. The idea that we don't need to protect our seniors.
It took
is
him 2
ridiculous.
hours to get there, but he did it.
And by the way, the American public
fuck it
has
up.
greater health care coverage today than ever before. And on the ACA, as I said, you're in a circumstance where 400,000 people, 40 million people would not have insurance because they have a pre-existing condition. Only thing that allows them to have that insurance is the fact that they, in fact, are part of the ACA. And by the way, the other thing is, we're in a situation where I talk about education for black communities. I've raised the amount of money for Pell Grants by another $8,000. So anybody making under $70,000 a year is going to be able to get $15,000 toward their tuition. He just doesn't know what he's talking about.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump.
So I've dealt with politicians all my life. I've been on this side of the equation for the last 8 years. I've never seen anybody lie like this guy. He lies. I've never seen it. He can look you in the face. About so many other things, too. And we mentioned the laptop. We mentioned Russia, Ukraine. Everything he does is a lie. It's misinformation and disinformation. The losers and suckers story that he made up is a total lie on the military. It's a disgrace. But Social Security, he's destroying it because millions of people are pouring into our country, and they're putting them onto Social Security. They're putting them onto Medicare, Medicaid. They're putting them in our hospitals. They're taking the place of our citizens. What they're doing to the VA, to our veterans, is unbelievable. Our veterans are living in the street, and these people are living in luxury hotels. He doesn't know what he's doing, and it's really coming back. I've never seen such anger in our country before.
President Biden.
The idea that veterans are not being taken care of, I told you before. And by the way, when I said suckers and losers, he said...
This motherfucker doesn't give a shit about veterans, by the way. It's so fucking frustrating.
That general got fired because he's the one that acknowledged that that's what he said. He was the one standing with Trump when he said it.
Fuck that general, bro. Shut up about the general. Address the fucking immigrant situation, please.
All these millions and millions, the way he talks about it, illegal aliens are coming into the country and taking away our jobs. There's a reason why we have the fastest growing economy in the world, the reason why we have the most successful economy in the world. We're doing better than any other nation in the world. And by the way, those 15 Nobel laureates he talked about being phony, those 15 Nobel laureates, economists, they all said that if Trump is reelected, we're likely to have a recession and inflation is going to increasingly go up. And by the way, worst president in history, 159 presidential scholars voted him the worst president in the history of the United States of America.
President Biden, thank you so much. Let's turn to the cost of child care, which many American families struggle to afford. President Trump, both you and President Biden have tried to address this issue, but the average cost of child care in this country has risen to more than $11,000.
Trump speaks, lowers volume.
For many
yeah, okay,
families.
dude.
The
Yeah,
cost
I'm
of
really
child
biased
care
here.
For 2 children is more.
That's why I
than
spend
their
most of the
rent.
time fucking
In your
shitting on
second term,
Biden,
what would you
dumbass.
do to make child care more affordable?
They both suck. Stupid.
The general got fired because he was no good. And if he said that, that's why he made it up. But we have 19 people that said I didn't say it, and they're very highly respected, much more so than him. The other thing is, he doesn't fire people. He never fired people. I've never seen him fire anybody. I did fire a lot. I fired Comey because he was no good. I fired a lot of the top people at the FBI, drained the swamp. They were no good. Not easy to fire people. You'd pay a price for it, but they were no good. I inherited these people. I didn't put him there. I didn't put Comey there. He was no good. I fired him. This guy hasn't fired anybody. He never fires. He should have fired every military man that was involved with that the Afghanistan horror show, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. He didn't fire. Did you fire anybody? Did you fire anybody that's on the border that's allowed us to have the worst border in the history of the world? Did anybody get fired for allowing 18 million people, many from prisons?
He's right. You should have fired the entire CBP and also Greg Abbott.
Did you fire anybody that allowed our country to be destroyed? Joe, our country is being destroyed as you and I sit up here and waste a lot of time on this debate. This shouldn't be a debate. He is the worst president. He just said about me because I said it. But look, he's the worst president in the history of our country. He's destroyed our country. Now all of a sudden he's trying to get a little tough on the border. He came out with a nothing deal, and it reduced it a little bit, like this much. It's insignificant. He wants open borders. He wants our country to either be destroyed or he wants to pick up those people as voters. And I don't think we just can't let it happen. If he wins
The question was
election,
childcare.
Our country doesn't have a chance, not even a chance.
What would Trump do to make childcare more affordable?
We probably won't have a country left anymore. That's how bad it is. He is the worst in history by far.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden?
We're the most admired country in the world. We're the United States of America. There's nothing beyond our capacity.
Not
We're the
anymore.
finest military in the
Not
history of the
anymore.
world.
They're looking at
The
this and
finest in the
going,
history of the
oops,
world.
nah.
No one thinks we're weak. No one.
Yeah,
wants
no,
to screw
totally,
around with us.
dude. We look
Nobody.
super strong
Number
right
one.
now.
Number two, the idea
Clown show.
that we're talking about worst presidents. I wasn't joking. Look it up. Go online. 159 or 58, don't hold me the exact number, presidential historians.
Bro, that's
they've
not-
had meetings.
who
and they voted
cares?
Who's the worst president in American history? Best to worst. They said he was the worst in all of American history. That's a fact. That's not conjecture. He can argue they're wrong, but that's what they voted.
Bro,
The
why
idea
is
that
he
is
so
knowing
coherent
doing
when
anything to
talking
deal
about
with
historians, presidential scholars, but not about abortion? I'm going to fucking
We should
die.
significantly increase the child care tax credit. We should significantly increase the availability of women and men or single parents to be able to go back to work. And we should encourage businesses to have
Thank you, President
child care
Biden.
facilities.
President Trump, the question was about what would you do to make child care more affordable, if you want to take your minute.
Just so you understand, we have polling, we have other things that they rate him the worst because what he's done is so bad. And they rate me, I'll show you, I will show you, and they rate me one of the best, okay? And if I'm given another 4 years, I will be the best. I think I'll be the best. Nobody's ever created an economy like us. Nobody ever cut taxes like us. He's the only one I know. He wants to raise your taxes by 4 times. He wants to raise everybody's taxes by 4 times. He wants the Trump tax cuts to expire, so everybody, including the two of you, are going to pay 4 to 5 times. Nobody ever heard of this
Including the
before.
two of you.
All my life, I'd grow up and I'd see politicians talking about cutting taxes. When we cut taxes, as I said, we did more business. Apple and all these companies, they were bringing money back into our country. The worst president in history by far, and everybody knows it.
President Biden?
Look, the fact of the matter is that he's dead wrong about, he's increased the tariff, he will increase the taxes on middle-class people. I said I'd never raise a tax on anybody making less than $400,000. I didn't. But this tariff is 10% tariffs. Everything coming in the country, you know what the economists say?
Bro,
That's
you
gonna
want to
cost
do
the average
tariffs.
American $2,500 a year more because they're going to have to pay the difference in food and all the things that we're importing. Number two, he's in a situation where he talks about how he has not raised, he somehow helped the middle class. Middle class have been devastated by you. Now you want a new tax cut of $5 trillion over the next 10 years, which is going to fundamentally bankrupt the country. You had the largest deficit of any president in American history, number one. Number two, you have not, in fact, made any contact, any progress with China. We are at the lowest trade deficit with China since 2010.
Thank you,
We're at the
President
highest.
Biden.
You lost
Thank you, President
$160.
Biden. Let's discuss an epidemic impacting millions of Americans that both of you have made a top priority in your first term.
TikTok.
The opioid crisis. And for both of you, the
woke
number
mind
of
virus.
overdose deaths in this
Fuck it.
country has gone up. Under your term, it went up. Under your term, it has gone up. Former President Trump, despite the efforts that both of you have made, more than 100,000 Americans are dying from overdoses every year, primarily from fentanyl and other opioids. What will you do to help Americans right now in the throes of addiction who are struggling to get the treatment they need?
To finish up, we now have the largest deficit in the history of our country under this guy. We have the largest deficit with China. He gets paid by China. He's a Manchurian candidate. He gets money from China. So I think he's afraid to deal with them or something. But do you notice he never took out my tariffs because we bring in so much money with the tariffs that I imposed on China. He never took them away. He can't because it's too much money. It's tremendous. And we saved our steel industries, and there was more to come, but he hasn't done that. But he hasn't cut the tariffs because he can't, because it's too much money. But he's got the largest deficit in the history of our country, and he's got the worst situation with China. China's going to own us if you keep allowing them to do what they're doing to us as a country. They are killing us as a country, Joe, and you can't let that happen. You're destroying our country.
So, President Trump, you have 67 seconds left. The question was, what are you going to do to help Americans in the throes of addiction right now who are struggling to get the treatment they need?
Jake, we were doing very well at addiction until the COVID came along. We had the 2.5, almost 3 years of like nobody's ever had before, any country, in every way. And then we had to get tough, and it was the drugs pouring across the border it started to increase. We got great equipment. We bought the certain dog that's the most incredible thing that you've ever seen, the way they can spot it. We did a lot.
What?
And we were getting very low numbers, very, very low numbers. Then he came along. The numbers, have you seen the numbers now? It's not only the 18 million people that I believe is even low because the gotaways, they don't even talk about gotaways. But the numbers of the amount of drugs and human trafficking in women coming across our border, the worst thing I've ever seen, at numbers that nobody's ever seen under him because the border's so bad. But the number of drugs coming across our border now is the largest we've ever had by far.
President Trump, thank you. President Biden?
Fentanyl and the byproducts of fentanyl went down for a while. And I wanted to make sure we use the machinery that can detect fentanyl, these big machines that roll over everything that comes across the border. And it costs a lot of money. That was part of this deal we put together.
Bro, this motherfucker thinks everything is because of immigrants, by the way. Trump.
More be able to detect drugs, more numbers of agents, more numbers of all the people at the border. And when we had that deal done, he called his Republican colleagues and said, don't do it. It's going to hurt me politically. No, he never argued it's not a good bill. It's a really good bill. We need those machines. We need those machines. And we're coming down very hard in every country in Asia in terms of precursors for fentanyl. And Mexico is working with us to make sure they don't have the technology to be able to put it together. That's what we have to do. We need those machines.
Thank you, President Biden.
It
President
is
Trump,
with 20
again,
plus
the
million
question is
immigrants.
about
Yeah, dude, totally.
Americans in the throes of
How many
addiction right now,
undocumented
struggling
immigrants
to
have
get
you
the
actually
treatment they need.
encountered in your life?
Because this does pertain to it. He
Most
ended
likely
remain
zero.
in Mexico.
Or if you knew
He
any,
ended catch
you
and
didn't even know that
release.
they were
I made it catch
undocumented.
and
Shut the
release
fuck
in
up.
Mexico, not catch and release here. We had so many things that we had done, hard negotiations with Mexico, and I got it all for nothing. It's just like when you have a hostage. We always pay $6 billion for a hostage. Every time we say it's a hostage.
Dumb fucking chatters.
have a
Forget I
hostage
live in
in
literally
Washington,
California. What the fuck are you talking about? Undocumented immigrants are doing crime is such a funny fucking idiotic statement. There's only empirical evidence to suggest the exact opposite of that, by the way. It is a complete manifestation of your hysterical thoughts. You're fucking hallucinating.
By literally, as soon as I win the election, I will have that reporter out. He should have had him out a long time ago. But Putin's probably asking for billions and billions of dollars because this guy pays it every time. We had 2 cases where we paid $6 billion for 5 people. I got 58 people out, and I paid essentially nothing.
Thank you, President Trump. Dana?
Let's turn to concerns that voters have about each of you. President Biden, you would be 86 at the end of your second term. How do you address concerns about your capability to handle the toughest job in the world well into your 80s?
Well, first of all, I spent half my career being criticized being the youngest person in politics. I was the second youngest person ever elected to the United States Senate.
That was 100 years ago, Joe. That was 100 years ago.
And a lot less competent. I think that just look at the record. Look at what I've done. Look how I've turned around the horrible situation he left me. As I said, 15 million new jobs, 800,000 manufacturing jobs, more investment in America, over billions of dollars in private investment in enterprises that we are growing. By the way, we brought an awful lot of people. The whole idea of computer chips, we used to have 40% of the market. We invented those chips, and we lost it because he was sending people to find the cheapest jobs overseas and to bring home a product. So I went to South Korea. I convinced Samsung to invest billions of dollars here in the United States. And guess what? Those fabs, they call to build these chips, those fabs pay over $100,000. You don't need a college degree for them. And there's billions, about $40 billion already being invested and being built right now in the United States, creating significant jobs for Americans from all over the world.
President Biden, you have 40 seconds left. Would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I would. The idea that somehow we are this failing country. I never heard a president talk like this before. We're the envy of the world. Name me a single major country president who wouldn't trade places with the United States of America for all our problems and all our opportunities. We're the most progressive country in the world in getting things done. We're the strongest country in the world. We're a country in the world who keeps our word, and everybody trusts us, all of our allies, and those who he coddles up to, from Kim Jong-un, he sends love letters to, and Putin, etc. They don't want to screw around with us.
Thank you. Former President Trump, to follow up, you would be 82 at the end of your second term. What do you say to voters who have concerns about your capabilities to serve?
Well, I took 2 tests, cognitive tests. I aced them, both of them, as you know. We made it public. He took none. I'd like to see him take one, just one, a real easy one. Like go through the first 5 questions. He couldn't do it. But I took 2 cognitive tests.
Right now.
I took physical exams every year. And, you know, we knock on wood wherever we may have wood, that I'm in very good health. I just won 2 club championships, not even senior, 2 regular club championships. To do that, you have to be quite smart, and you have to be able to hit the ball a long way. And I do it. He doesn't do it. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. He challenged me to a golf match. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. I think I'm in very good shape. I feel that I'm as in good a shape as I was 25, 30 years ago. Actually, I'm probably a little bit lighter, but I'm in as good a shape as I was years ago. I feel very good. I feel the same. But I was willing to take a cognitive test. And you know what? If I didn't do well, I aced them. Dr. Ronnie Jackson.
He aced the cognitive test.
He was White House doctor.
I cleared
I took another one, a similar one. And one of them said they'd never seen anybody ace him.
Thank you. President Biden?
You can see he is 6'5" and only 223 pounds, or 35 pounds.
Never said he was 6'4".
Well, you said 6'4", 200. Well, anyway, that's what you're. Anyway. Just take a look at what
he tried to dunk back. That didn't work.
Look, I'd be happy to have a driving contest with him.
No.
I got my handicap, which when I was vice president, down to a 6. But by the way,
they're so lame. They're so lame. This is like real. He hates it.
Do it.
That's the biggest lie. That he's a 6 handicap of all.
I was at 8
Oh
handicap.
God, I want to die. Shoot me into the sun. Shoot me into the fucking sun right now.
Let's not act like children.
President Trump, we're going to turn
Let's not act like children.
to a specific concern that voters have about you. Will you pledge tonight that once all legal challenges have been exhausted, that you will accept the results of this election, regardless of who wins, and you will say right now that political violence in any form is unacceptable?
Well, I shouldn't have to say that, but of course I believe that. It's totally unacceptable. And if you would see my statements that I made on Twitter at the time, and also my statement that I made in the Rose Garden, you would say it's one of the strongest statements you've ever seen. In addition to the speech I made in front of, I believe, the largest crowd I've ever spoken to, and I will tell you, nobody ever talks about that. They talk about a relatively small number of people that went to the Capitol, and in many cases were ushered in by the police. And as Nancy Pelosi said, it was her responsibility, not mine. She said that loud and clear. But the answer is, if the election is fair, free, and I want that more than anybody. And I'll tell you something. I wish he was a great president, because I wouldn't be here right now. I'd be at one of my many places enjoying myself. I wouldn't be under indictment because I wouldn't have been his political opponent, because he indicted me because I was his opponent. I wish he was a great president. I would rather have that. I wouldn't be here. I don't mind being here. But the only reason I'm here is he's so bad as a president that I'm going to make America great again. We're going to make America great again. We're a failing nation right now. We're a seriously failing nation.
I believe we need an older candidate.
Because of him. His policies
How
are
high
so
can we
bad.
go?
His military policies are insane. They're insane. These are wars that will never end with him. He will drive us into World War III, and we're closer to World War III than anybody can imagine. We are very, very close to World War III, and he's driving us there. And Kim Jong-un and President Xi of China, Kim Jong-un of North Korea, all of these, Putin, they don't respect him. They don't fear him. They have nothing going with this gentleman, and he's going to drive us into World War III.
You want a World War III, let him follow and win, and let Putin say, do what you want, NATO. Just do what you want. There's a thing called Article 5. An attack on one is an attack on all, and required response. The idea, I can't think of a single major leader in the world who wouldn't trade places with the job I've done and what they've done. Because we are a powerful nation. We have wonderful people. It's because of the people, not me. It's because of the American people. They're capable of anything, and they step up when they're needed. And right now, we're needed. We're needed to protect the world because our own safety is at stake. And again, you want to have a war, just let Putin go ahead and take Kyiv, make sure they move on, see what happens in Poland, Hungary, and other places along that border. Then you have a war.
President Trump, as I come back to you for a follow-up, the question was, will you accept the results of this election, regardless of who wins?
Just to finish what he said, if I might, Russia, they took a lot of land from Bush. They took a lot of land from Obama and Biden.
What?
They took no land,
okay.
nothing from Trump, nothing. He knew not to do it. He's not going to play games with me. He knew that. I got along with him very well, but he knew not to play games. He took nothing from me. But now he's going to take the whole thing from this man right here. That's a war that should have never started. It would have never started ever with me. And he's going to take Ukraine. And, you know, you asked me a question before, would you do this with? He's got us in such a bad position right now with Ukraine and Russia, because Ukraine's not winning that war. He said, I will never settle until such time. They're running out of people. They're running out of soldiers. They've lost so many people. It's so sad. They've lost so many people, and they've lost those gorgeous cities with the golden domes that are 1,000 years old, all because of him and stupid decisions. Russia would have never attacked if I were
President Trump,
president.
the question was, will you accept the results of the election, regardless of who wins? Yes or no, please.
If it's a fair and legal and good election, absolutely. I would have much rather accepted these, but the fraud and everything else was ridiculous. And if you want, we'll have a news conference on it in a week, or we'll have another one of these in a week. But I will absolutely, there's nothing I'd rather do. It would be much easier for me to do that than I'm running again. I wasn't really going to run until I saw the horrible job he did. He's destroying our country. I would
Until
be
he
very
realized he's
happy
going to
be
jail.
someplace else, in a nice location someplace. And again, no indictments, no political opponent stuff, because it's the only way he thinks he can win. But unfortunately, it's driven up my numbers and driven them up to a very high level because the people understand it.
Well, let's see what your numbers are when this election is over. Let's see. You're a whiner. When you lost the first time, you continued, you appealed and appealed to courts all across the country. Not one single court in America said any of your claims had any merit, state or local, none. But you continue to provoke this lie about somehow there's all this misrepresentation, all this stealing. There is no evidence of that at all. And I tell you what, I doubt whether you'll accept it because you're such a whiner. The idea if you lose again, you accepting anything, you can't stand the loss. Something snapped in you when you lost the last time.
We'll be right back with more from the CNN presidential debate, live from Georgia.
Bro, that was crazy.
Biden fat shamed him.
Oh yeah, I mean that was he tried. The problem is he fucking tried and he failed because he flubbed it when he's like, "You're 6'5", 200," and like that was insane, brother. That was actually
a reference to such an obscure thing. It was like about how like he like said his weight when he got put in for like the conviction in Georgia was 215, which is like funny, but I haven't thought about that in like a year.
Yeah, I mean there's a lot of bangers in there. Like the Alley Cat one was such a banger that they fucking laid that up and tweeted it alongside, you know, like how Kamala released their fucking merch drop in the primaries, like way back in the day. It's just like, dude,
when they pre-planned that.
Yeah, it was.
They were like, oh god.
Yeah, just like they pre-planned the fucking drink, where, like as though they were popping off. You know what I mean? As though Biden was gonna really show up tonight. I'm telling you right now. Here's a tweet from Kevin Barron. Okay, Christoph, Ed Luce, Ron Fournier, Nick Christoph. Seeing lots of columnists, veteran White House reporters, prominent liberals calling for Biden to drop out before the debate is halfway over and give someone else a chance. Remarkable. It took them this fucking long for them to come up with what like 60% of Americans had seen.
Now,
what?
I wrote an article about how like he was a risky pick in April of 2023.
Dude, even like, you know who also surprisingly was saying this, by the way, until it was far too late, like all the way until it was far too late and he shut the fuck up about it. Motherfucking David Axelrod. Like, even he was on CNN being like, yeah, we probably shouldn't do this, but what do I know? What the fuck do I know?
That just pissed Biden off, and because Biden is like beyond like being old and like incompetent and whatever, he's just a complete just like child about this type of stuff. He hates all the Obama people. Like he thinks that they all tried to like end his career like to help Hillary. And so
to be fair, they did tell him not to run, and like we do know that was an error because like if he had run back then, he would have won. So I think he just like kept that resentment going, and he never stopped. He never stopped with that resentment. And
he's like a Nixonian figure.
Yeah, and now we're stuck. Now we're just perma stuck in this situation, and holy shit, dude, this is so bad. Trump is, you know, doing regular old Trump stuff, which might be unappealing, I think, because he's starting to like let loose a little bit. He was significantly more quote unquote presidential in the first half, and he's just like now he's just like memeing beyond. Like if he kept it to light jabs every now and then, like he was doing in the first half of the session of the debate, if you can call it that, he would have looked a lot better. He just keeps planting the immigrants are responsible for everything thing into basically every fucking conversation. They'll be like, what about the opiates? Immigrants are bringing opiates. What about child tax credits? Immigrants are eating the children. And that's why we will not have any, tax credits for children. There's no What about child poverty? Immigrants are, you know, bringing in children that are poor. Like he's just everything's an immigrant.
Yeah, he
Which-
does not fuck around about being racist. He does not play.
Yeah. And they're also doing the classic thing. Oh, wait, it's starting again.
Oh,
This has got to be like the final
It is
words,
now
I
time for the
suspect. I have to
candidates
pee real
deliver
quick.
Their closing statements as predetermined by a coin toss. We're going to begin with you, President Biden. You have 2 minutes.
I got to pee.
We've made significant progress from the debacle that was left by President Trump in his last term. We find ourselves in a situation where, number one, we have to make sure that we have a fair tax system. I ask anyone out there in the audience, or anyone out watching this debate, do you think the tax system is fair? The fact is that I said nobody even making under $400,000 had a single penny increase in their taxes, and will not. And if I'm reelected, that'll be the case again. But this guy has increased your taxes because of the deficit. Number one, he's increased inflation because of the debacle he left after the way he handled the pandemic. And he finds himself in a position where he now wants to tax you more by putting a 10% tariff on everything that comes into the United States of America. What I did, when, for example, he wants to get rid of the ability of Medicare for us to be able to negotiate drug prices with the big pharma companies. Well, guess what? We got it down to $35 for insulin instead of $400. No more than $2,000 for every senior, no matter how much prescription they need. You know what that did? That reduced the federal debt by $160 billion over 10 years.
Is he fucking up?
Because the government doesn't have to pay the exorbitant prices. I'm going to make that available to every senior all along. It's happening now, and everybody in America. He wants to get rid of that. I'm going to make sure that we have child care. We're going to significantly increase the credits people have for child care. I'm going to make sure we do something about what we're doing on lead pipes and all the things that are causing health problems for people across the country. We're going to continue to fight to bring down inflation and give people a break.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump, you now have 2 minutes for your closing statement.
Like so many politicians, this man is just a complainer. He said, we want to do this, we want to do that, we want to get rid of this tax, that tax. But he doesn't do anything. All he does is make our country unsafe by allowing millions and millions of people to pour in. Our military doesn't respect him. We look like fools in Afghanistan. We didn't stop Israel. It was such a horrible thing that would have never happened. It should have never happened. Iran was broke. Anybody that did business with Iran, including China, they couldn't do business with the United States. They all passed. Iran was broke. They had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah, for terror, no money whatsoever. Again, Ukraine should have never happened. He talks about all this stuff, but he didn't do it. For 3.5 years, we're living in hell. We have the Palestinians and we have everybody else rioting all over the place. You talk about Charlottesville. This is 100 times Charlottesville, 1,000 times. The whole country is exploding because of you, because they don't respect you, and they have to respect their president, and they don't respect you throughout the world. What we did was incredible. We rebuilt the military. We got the largest tax regulation cut in history. The reason he's got jobs is because I cut the regulations that gave jobs, but he's putting a lot of those regulations back on. All of the things that we've done, nobody's never seen anything like, even from a medical standpoint, right to try, where we can try space-age materials instead of going to Asia or going to Europe and trying to get, when you're terminally ill, now you can go and you can get something. You sign a document. They've been trying to get it for 42 years. But you know, what we did for the military was incredible. Choice for our soldiers, where our soldiers, instead of waiting for 3 months to see a doctor, can go out and get themselves fixed up and readied up and take care of themselves, and they're living. And that's why I had the highest approval rating in the history of the VA. So all of these things, we're in a failing nation, but it's not going to be failing anymore. We're going to make it great again.
Thank you, former President Trump, President Biden. Stay with us because we have full analysis of this debate. Anderson Cooper and Aaron Burnett starts now on CNN.
What a nightmare, dude. Wow.
Oh.
What a fucking nightmare. What an absolute nightmare. Okay. That was It's Jover. I mean, it is Jover, right? Can we say that? Is Jover? What
I,
are they
I don't
doing?
know. I mean, he
Uh-oh.
could still win the electoral college even if he loses the popular vote. But like, God, that was not good. That was not good at all. Like I mean, if you want to like have a silver lining here, is that everybody already thinks he's just completely fucking out of it, and this only just like confirms that. But like Trump didn't really get caught up on any of his bad issues. He was completely unable to press any of like the things like even like abortion or January.
Look at Joe Biden trying to walk away. You see that?
Oh God.
He needs Jill to fucking like walk him.
Oh, that's great. That's awesome.
That's cool. It's yeah, I think that like the reason, like I said, the reason why they did this early was because they wanted people to see that he was virile. Okay? That he was a stud. And he absolutely is not a fucking stud. He did not show up tonight.
Did you see that, like they were leaking to the Wall Street Journal that he has a cold?
Yeah, I did.
Oh.
That's great. That definitely fixes it.
Yeah, thanks for telling us now.
Yeah, that definitely doesn't look like you were trying to desperately do PR as a last ditch effort. You know? Certainly.
Yeah. Well, I guess there is a second debate in September.
He's not. Is he going to survive? Is he going to survive until September? Like he's dying. He's literally fucking dying in front of our eyes. He is a cadaver rotting. That was incredible. Like I personally think that this is going to have like CNN can try to spin this as hard as they want, but this was a unfathomable W for Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Like not even a question, because everybody pays attention to the beginning of the debate, right? Like that's the most important part. And the beginning of the debate, Biden unironically performed worse. Because this was about like not even what Biden was saying, but how Biden was saying it. And on the aesthetics front, he just he can't do anything. He just looks old. Like he looks like his face is kind of like, he's constantly got the old man face.
Yeah. It's not, I mean, he looked old in 2020, but he could at least like deliver a point. Like he couldn't, like he took like his best issue, abortion. Trump literally said that it was a good thing that Roe v. Wade was overturned. Like that's a layup. You've been begging for him to say that for like a year. And he couldn't press with that. He brought up Laken Riley.
Yeah,
Why
that
would
was
you do
insane. He looked lost the entire time. Sources, by the way, look at the Chiron. Sources, Dem's concerned about Biden's performance tonight. It's so Jover.
That quick? Like 5 minutes? It took them that long to kind of tell what was going on?
Yeah. He also personally said the Border Patrol liked my bill like a fucking idiot. And the Border Patrol Union immediately came out and said, to be clear, we never have and never will endorse Biden. Like, what the fuck are the Democrats thinking?
He's been doing that constantly, and it hasn't worked. They announced that deal in December, and his numbers only improved after the conviction. The idea that he can like move to the right to solve his issues is just, there are people like who were swearing up and down before this that the issue here was like his FTC commissioner, like, and it's just, I mean, you can't Keir Starmer your way out of this. The issue is clearly the guy on stage.
Yeah. No, it's really, really bad. And it's really bad. And it's not like it's a layup for an average Democrat, not like a topper vote. Dean Phillips could do a better job showing. Kamala Harris could do a better job showing up and demonstrating positions. Because like Donald Trump is sitting up there saying some of the most heinous, unimaginably insane shit. The problem is, when you lock yourself into the fucking, we are the party that is going to restrict immigration, though, you can't really do anything about it. You can't really
accepted his framing. They said he was right.
You cannot outflank your opponent on racism, on police brutality, and like, you know, doing more, funding the police more, like being tough on crime. You just cannot outflank the Republican Party on these issues. All you're doing is basically capitulating to their framing on the matter.
Yeah. I don't know how you could even like really argue like the Trump, because they've admitted that he was like saying, oh, on my second term, I'm going to shut down the border completely. I'm only halfway there. Like, what are you saying? Like, why did we elect you if Trump was right about this? What was the point?
Like the example I used before, and I will repeat it here because we have 100,000 plus people watching, is like, if in a hypothetical scenario, in an alternative universe where, you know, Bernie Sanders is running on Medicare for all, he became the fucking Democratic Party's actual presidential candidate, and he's going up against Donald Trump in 2016, and Donald Trump, being the populist that he is, turns around and says, actually, I think Bernie's right, Medicare for all is good. Do you think that that is going to cause people to go and vote for Donald Trump because he's the Medicare for all candidate? Or do you think more people are going to go, oh shit, even Trump is admitting it, well, I'm going to go with the Medicare for all guy?
Exactly.
Like, that's it. There's no world in which you turn around and go, you know what, actually, I want to vote for Biden because he's the border guy. No, you're going to go with the fucking border guy who's been talking about how rapist immigrants are, how they've invented new ways of doing rape for like the past fucking 8 years, you know? All you've now done is basically solidify his position as truth, even though the underlying evidence for it, the premises that this immigration conversation is derived from, is complete nonsense. It is made up, hysterical, schizophrenic hallucinations of some of the most racist Republicans you've ever seen. There are so many studies on this. For the first time ever, I heard NPR talk about this morning on The Issue Is or whatever, one of those fucking NPR shows, where they finally said it. They were like, yeah, immigration is a really tough issue for Biden. Also, simultaneously, immigration is a really tough issue for Biden. Also, there's no empirical evidence to suggest that immigrants are doing more crime than like natural-born U.S. citizens. As a matter of fact, there's only evidence to show that immigrants are responsible for less crime per capita than natural-born U.S. citizens. It took them this long to fucking say this.
It's not even true that they're bringing in fentanyl. Almost all fentanyl comes in through ports of entry, like legally. Would you know that if you listen to Biden? No.
Yeah, and it's crazy because like these are DHS numbers. 90% of all fentanyl trafficked over the border comes from regular points of entry. And you know who is actually the ones who are trafficking it? Not fucking undocumented migrants, it's Americans. It's like people who are less likely to be stopped and apprehended by Customs and Border Patrol. Those are the motherfuckers who are doing it. It's coming in shipping containers, and when it's coming with like individuals, it's coming in like American Honda Civics that are cut down with like white American dudes driving the Honda Civic because they're less likely to be fucking caught.
Yeah, Democrats used to say this like 5-6 years ago before Biden. They did push back against this stuff. They said the wall was stupid. They brought up that they said this, and the polling, they persuaded people. The wall was never popular. Immigration was never something Trump was actually good on. But they've had to construct these narratives about like how any issue Biden faces has to be something other than race. It has to be not race. I mean age. It has to be over like that he's too left-wing economically. It has to be that he's not pro-Israel enough. It has to be that he's not strong enough on immigration. They're throwing everything overboard so they can just avoid reality. And like something has got to give.
I know. It is really, really, really fucking frustrating. People are saying that MSNBC is in full panic mode right now. Like CNN, the Chiron is saying, sources, them saying we have a problem after Biden's performance tonight. And like, he's losing the New York Times columnist. Like I showed, like, dude, like Nicholas Kristof is talking about how he needs to fucking drop out and shit. Like, it's so Jover.
Yeah, it's just strange.
Like Newswire from Politico. Democrats freak out over Biden's debate performance. Biden is toast.
Even Jeff Tetrick just said, "What the fuck did I just watch?" Jeff Tetrick isn't spinning it.
Yeah, it's so bad. It is so unimaginably bad, and it's like we've been there. We have been here for years at this point. So it's kind of shocking that they are finally fucking coming to that recognition as though like this is what it took. Like, I don't know what the fuck their expectation was. I don't know. I don't know what the fuck they were thinking. That was the worst aura from a president I've ever seen in my life. Bro, he's dead. There's no more aura. He's 1 HP. Okay? Yeah. Someone needs to throw him a fucking health potion, but he's not going to survive. You know what I mean? He's done. He's dead. Aaron Rupar's fucking tweeting about like, oh, well, seems like Biden was a little flustered here. It's so bad.
It's like the extent that like liberals have gone over the past year to just believe anything other than the fact that Biden might be too old. They have been willing to just say that Trump is popular. They've been willing to say that people want immigration restrictions. They've been willing to say that basically this country has no hope, and to live out this fantasy that Biden is the best candidate available. And it's how do you why do you even do that? Why would you want to believe that?
It's because the Democratic Party is secretly run by accelerationist MAGA communists. That's why.
Yes.
Jimmy Dore is actually taking over the Democratic Party, and they're like, how do we get Trump a second term? We put Biden back in there. Okay, we roll him out, definitely, and then ultimately, you will, with a certainty, you will have Donald Trump as president. It's phenomenal. Okay, let's go to Rachel Maddow. I want to hear what she has to say.
Just within a matter of moments. Lawrence, I also want to get your response. I think one of the interesting things that Alex said there was that some of the poor coherence and poor answers from Donald Trump are being viewed as standard Trump and therefore not newsworthy, while the performance from President Biden is being viewed as newsworthy because it came in below expectations.
Yeah, in any sort of normal universe, you would think the candidate who during the presidential debate said, "I didn't have sex with a porn star," was the loser of that debate.
Yeah.
That would be the normal scorecard. So let's just remember that so far, the only thing we've been concentrating on here is optics, that thing we call optics, and in this case also audio because of the aging voice of Joe Biden. But the question is that we don't know the answer to is voters out there who went into this debate thinking they're for Biden or they're for Trump or thinking whatever they were thinking. What in this debate of substance that was true?
Oh,
if
dude.
anything?
Dude.
No, they're saying it won't matter.
Dude, that doesn't matter. We're so far from substance, big dog. That only matters when you have a competent person who doesn't look fucking demented on stage.
Yeah, you're trying to pretend that this is anything other than the election that it is, which is it revolves
Which is how we got
around.
here. Which is how we got here. This is exactly how we got here, because the Democrats and those in positions of power and those in like liberal and left wing liberal media have literally been acting like what everyone can see, what all the fucking polling results show, regardless of their steady effort to make it seem like that's not the case, is, ringing every fucking alarm bell that Brandon looks like he's dying. Okay? You can't have Karine Jean-Pierre go up there in a press conference and keep saying it's AI that makes him look old. Okay? You can't do that.
It's insane cope. And I want to, just so people don't forget, in the Senate races, this year, Democrats are leading in every single competitive state. They're leading in Ohio and Montana. This is not the result. Trump's lead is not the result of Americans becoming more conservative. They are not conservative. They just don't want to vote for the fucking crypt keeper.
Abso-fucking-lutely, dude. Absolutely. It is unimaginable how badly they're fucking up. This is actually, it's not that unimaginable. This is exactly what happened with Hillary Clinton in 2016. Everyone was like, yo, she's unlikable. Yo, she's unlikable. She's gross. Everybody fucking hates her. People hate her so much. Democratic Party primary voters were willing to vote for a fucking socialist. That's how much they fucking hated her. And yet it didn't matter. They're like, no, everything's fine. Everything's fine. And then they lost.
At least she was polling ahead of Trump back then.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's that. You're right. At least she was performing better than Joe Biden. Oh, my Lord. It is actually crazy. I don't know.
There was I was just quickly reading this thing, and some Obama guy said, if this gets him to drop out, it was good. If it didn't, it's bad. It's just crazy that it took this to get to this point. This has been clear for a while now. It's Ed and Eddie's been off the air for a minute.
What? Just now, John King on CNN says senior Democrat officials are now considering going to the White House to call on Biden to step down following tonight's debate. We have
Let's
a
go.
problem.
They're marching on the Capitol.
Dude,
January
they're going to do a
6th,
Bolivia-style coup. It's over. It's over.
Let's go.
They're calling it the gayest coup of all time.
Oh, my God. Whitmer head. The 18th premier of Gretchen Whitmer.
Oh, my God. Yeah, I mean, I'll take her. I'll take JB Pritzker. It don't matter. Just not gruesome Newsom.
Gruesome Gavin. This is what we've been waiting for.
I mean, Gruesome Gavin would push us over the finish line at this point.
Remember that debate with DeSantis? He killed it. This is easy.
Dude, he'd just be like, I fucked your daughter-in-law. That's what he would say. He'd be like, yeah, don't. Hey, keep Melania and Ivanka away from me. You know what I'm saying? Shit might get heated. You know how I am. But it is. There is no way. There's just no way to fucking fix this. Oh yeah, Bernie Sanders is too old. That was it's just Bernie Sanders age-wise is old. Is older than he's obviously older than Joe Biden. He's obviously older than Donald Trump, and yet he is way more coherent. Like, I don't think people understand. Like, Joe Biden's mental faculties have fucking deteriorated. Okay, it is so obvious. I can't believe they tried to do this. Like, oh, he just has a stutter shit for the longest fucking time. Like, it was so crazy, bro.
He did not have a stutter. Back in the day, he would talk. He was infamous for
David
talking
Axelrod.
constantly.
Look at how wet he is. Why is he so wet? He's getting wetter by the moment.
No, Dave.
Oh my God. Wait, what the fuck? What are they dousing him? Are they spraying him with water like a cat or something? What the fuck?
Moist Dave.
Dude, I've never seen someone so wet on camera. Yeah, we got to listen to what they have to say.
He
Hold
continued
on.
to pummel Joe Biden all night. I understand what you're saying. But at the end of the night, very few things about the policy exchanges is going to be remembered. People are going to remember Joe Biden. They're going to remember him shuffling out. They're going to remember him staring blankly into the camera. They're going to remember him looking down, losing his train of thought. And they're going to remember that everything I thought I knew, but the White House told me don't believe my own eyes, is actually true.
But that's not what I'm saying. What I said, Scott, was if Joe Biden were not the candidate, if there was another candidate, I think Donald Trump would be in deep trouble.
But if I may, that is such a sad state of affairs. Something I was consistently hearing is, what a bad debate in the sense that Donald Trump lied throughout. He misrepresented. He tried to turn away from key points that he should have given answers on. He kept deflecting. With any normal, generic Democrat next to him, I don't think he would have won the night. But you put somebody who was suffering from the moment that they got out. It was hard to watch. I had to occasionally look away because it was so uncomfortable. I think America deserves better than the options that are in front of them. It's really devastating. And by the way, our allies are watching.
Yeah, look, I mean, the way that I
our allies are watching.
Less emotional is Biden stuttered, but he told the truth. He looked terrible, but his policies were good. Trump spoke plainly, but he lied the whole time. And he looked good, but his policies were terrible. I mean, he's going to do nothing on climate change. He was hugging the cactus on abortion. I mean, his policies are terrible. So you have somebody who probably shouldn't be president, and you have somebody who cannot be president in terms of what Donald Trump represents. So we have a problem as a country now, and this might be an opportunity for people to come together and figure this out, because neither one of those people right now are inspiring the confidence that they should inspire, that they can do the job in a way
Maoist Van Jones, dude.
Yes. Young voters are
He's
up
saying
for grabs in this
cultural revolution
election.
now.
I don't know a voter under 30 who would have watched tonight and could say, I have confidence
These are the
in
people
Joe
need to
Biden
get together and do a struggle session.
And this opens the door, by the way, for the conversation about if Joe Biden remains the candidate, you're not voting for Joe Biden.
Oh no, the spin room they evacuated.
Kamala Harris. Let's be honest.
Evacuated the
that
spin
is
room?
No. They're coming in now.
Down this road with a
they had to do
release today.
They had to get their talking
this
points.
Conversation about who you're actually casting your vote for.
Pure bunker moment.
The volume is going to ratchet up, and I got news for you. She's less popular than he is. That is going to be a big problem for the Democrats if this ticket stays the way it is.
Yeah, and a Scott's Democratic friend who maxed out, right? That's the sentiment you're going to hear, I think, from some of my Democratic friends who are texting me saying, I can't believe this is where we are, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to forgive the party for putting in this position.
Look,
on the lies about on Donald Trump's
dude,
lies.
I've never been more vindicated. It's the easiest lock, but like, Jesus Christ.
Me in the media, I sit in the chair and I fact check Trump all the time. So I know these lies by heart at this point. But people watching from home do not.
Fuck all these liberals.
Biden's job as the other person on the other side of the stage is to be the one to very quickly dispense with the lies and to shut them down. And I don't think that happened enough times in a coherent way to blunt the fact that Trump was taking a universe that was built on a house of lies and building building a whole world for the millions of people watching.
Particularly on some of the most basic subject matters that President Biden should have been able to just...
That world that he was able to build, it was not knocked down by the president. That is really at the heart of the problem. He may have won when he was making his discrete policy points, but part of the job on the debate stage is dealing with an opponent like Donald Trump, who goes like a mile a minute on things that are not true. And if you don't deal with that,
Abby.
I don't know. No one at home is doing that.
All I want to say is I'm not sure. I don't think you're giving viewers enough credit. I think what they saw was the Trump that they didn't like. And I don't think he did himself a great service tonight.
Yeah, but yes, and I also think we should just. I also think
Kamala is about to go live on MSNBC.
See what they say, right? Let's look at the dials.
They're bringing out the big guns.
Let's look at where they are next week. We can make our pronouncements, but ultimately voters have to absorb
it. They're going to turn your mics off, guys.
Real quickly, on the one thing that that Biden did fact check him on the Charlottesville thing, he was completely wrong. Right, so he's up there talking about Charlottesville and Trump not denouncing the two sides, and Snopes was out last week. 7 months, 7 years too late kind of thing on the deal. And that's the thing Joe Biden's going to fact check him on, something that was proven false.
We're going to more with the panel out here. A lot of notable moments, painful moments from tonight. But as we've been talking about, perhaps a single defining one as well, this one early on.
Oh, God. What are they going to play? Oh, I thought they were going to play the fucking clip of him stuttering immediately. That is so bad. Oh no. Frank Luntz, after the first commercial break, I asked my focus group of undecided voters how many of them are more convinced to vote for Joe Biden. 0 raised their hands. Half of them say they voted for Biden in 2020.
Yo, he popped off.
Dude. Yeah, Jenkin, you were right on Thanksgiving. Yeah, we had this conversation very publicly multiple times at this point. And it's like, oh no. Unless Kamala Harris goes up there and is like magically no longer doing perks, instead is like, switch it up to like some uppers and decides to start talking about a fucking coup, like a people's revolution or something. The Democratic Party's chances are fucking absolutely cooked.
Yeah.
This is the Onion article. Onion.
It's going to be awesome when they win like the Texas Senate race and like lose fucking like New York to Trump.
Yeah. No, it is the most insane thing I've ever seen. You were bringing this up before we switched over to CNN, but like the Democratic Party down ballot is going to, for the first time ever, potentially carry the top of the ticket. That's not normal. That doesn't happen. Like they literally are outperforming. Dude, Democratic senators in their races right now are outperforming Joe Biden in Nevada, Arizona, and many other fucking states by like 10 points, sometimes 15 points. That is so insane.
It doesn't happen. People literally, the really pro-Biden people are like, well, this literally can't happen. These numbers are too big. Well, maybe like it's not like that infeasible. Maybe there's something different about this one guy compared to like regular ass fucking Bob Casey or Jackie Rosen or whoever.
Someone in his focus group, in Franklin's focus group, said, I don't even know if Biden can make it to November. I mean, yeah, me. I think that.
Even if like he drops out here, it's still so fucking embarrassing because he could have dropped out like at any point before this. It didn't have to get to this point.
Yep. No, it is every single day that is wasted is getting closer and closer to absolute bedlam. I mean, we're already there. Like, what are they going to do? I guess they can do like the convention, like they can change it up, old school style, rock out with your cock out like it's fucking the 60s again.
That he was
I know, that'd be kind of sick.
There were so many people.
Yeah, I don't even know how I mean, I guess the DNC technically, legally, because they fought that court case after 2016, they legally could choose whoever the fuck they want.
Oh, that's always been the case. They just don't do it like that ever since the 70s.
They could choose. I'm just saying they could choose whoever they want. Like they could literally completely cast aside all of the delegates and everything else and just be like, no, this is our guy.
That's always how it's worked. They always used to pick him out of back rooms. And some of our greatest presidents came out of back rooms. You know what? They chose FDR out of a back room.
And it is going to be an immense challenge.
Nicole Wallace on MSNBC talking about you can't change a candidate, but you can. There were people talking about how that process works and the convention is live and active. Oh my God, Jenk was right, dude. Vindicated. Vindication.
Draft
reporters are
shank.
talking to them. Every reporter in here has just swarmed the two Biden surrogates that are inside this room. And I think what I'm most struck by after listening to that entire performance and talking to the Biden campaign officials and covering President Biden myself his first 2 years in office was part of his closing statement there. He made no mention of abortion or Donald Trump's felony conviction. The two things that they have talked about the most, the fact that that is the biggest contrast between President Biden and former President Donald Trump. Obviously, the felony conviction.
He lit up when talking about golf. He lit up when talking about Social Security. He was like definitely good on like a couple issues, but that's it.
He lit up when talking about how he doesn't support abortion.
He lit up when talking about the presidential scholars. That was a big hit. Everybody wanted to know what presidential scholars think about Donald Trump.
Yeah.
You know?
I heard that the academics don't like him. That's huge fucking news. Nobody knew that.
Dude, yeah. I'm a Pennsylvania HVAC business owner. I'm changing my mind instantaneously after this.
Dagger to the throat of democracy. Did not seize on that moment and did not take that.
So can I just for a moment, because we can hear him, and this is happening right now. So I just in this moment, he's at a watch party.
No.
They're cheering 4 more years. He's speaking. What I'm curious about, okay?
Oh no.
Is does he know how bad this was?
They're talking like they're talking about him like he's a dog.
Hear him a little bit on the mic.
Like he's a dog that pooped on the carpet.
You know, he's not the first president who's had a really.
Since we can hear it, why don't we listen to a little bit of it? Okay.
Oh, does he know how bad he did?
North Carolina. All right. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to go home with you. Thank you.
We're going to take out a giant cane.
All right, so there he is. Thank
That's
you, thank
it?
you. The rousing applause going to that party.
Turning
He
his
wasn't
back on
a
the
third that
crowd for
vibrant
extended
or
periods of time is
vigorous
pretty good.
inside the debate body.
Yeah, I mean, I think fundamentally, I think a lot of Americans saw Donald Trump they recognized tonight, right? His mannerisms, his quickness in his response, and as you talked about, lies and information that was incorrect. Unfortunately, they also saw a Joe Biden maybe they don't recognize. This is not the person who was quick on his feet or fast to parry or to respond quickly to
This is the
misinformation,
gentlest way to put him
respond quickly
down.
to lies.
He hasn't been that Joe Biden in a long time.
Oh!
This
Well,
was
I
the
mean, my
culmina-
comment
this
was
the
it
culmination of the
Wallace, a
process.
fox
Perhaps, but it
knows with a
also
top
was
rope.
stark. You know, before I went into this conversation, I thought about the idea of infirm versus unstable. And I think that Joe Biden did not do enough to mitigate the idea that he is infirm. And Donald Trump was able to mitigate looking unstable. When I think about how he talked about abortion, for instance, trying to show that he was not extreme in some way. I know people are pointing out his lies tonight. That is also something that Joe Biden was to be doing in a more effective way and did not. And so it's sort of hard to be here now and say, this is was said and that was said. Like, that's your job on the stage, to also jump in quickly.
There
And
were
say,
also
"That's
moments
not
where the sentence would end, and there was maybe an attempt to have a back
Oh,
and
no.
forth between them,
Don't
obviously
bring
because
that
the
up.
mics, they weren't
Oh,
able to
no.
do that, and then there would be another question.
It wasn't that Biden
Bro,
didn't
they're
have to use
cooking.
your
They're
time
cooking 'em.
effectively, and unfortunately, the president did not do that.
I'm going to pick up on that. I mean, there was a question asked about what are you going to do for blacks and which black voters, which is a constituency that Biden is in terrible jeopardy of losing. He finishes his statement and
he's not, but after tonight maybe. But like
49
that's
seconds.
crazy. But they're saying he's that's insane that people say this kind of shit. By the
Social
way,
Security.
she's like,
and I
no,
think it
that's
was
not
Dana says,
true.
you have 82 seconds left. I mean, he wasn't
He did
able
lose a
to
lot of
even
support,
fill the
but
2
not,
minute
like,
time he was
outright.
given where the other guys might go up to talk about black voters and protecting Social Security.
And not to, I don't speak on behalf of black voters, but that was a great example of an issue where both of them sounded just like wild. What is the policy? What is a black job and a black child care? It was like, what is happening? It was very similar to the end when they started going off about golf. Why? I mean, those are those moments where I think as a voter, you're just like, these are the options, and it doesn't feel
costs
great.
is one of the #1 concerns that you hear from parents in this country. Parents have to quit their jobs because it's less expensive for one person to not
Because they're
work instead of
spending all their money at the Hasanabi broadcast at the top of the hour when there's a 3-minute ad break
answer on that.
chat.
They were both answering questions
That's
about
why parents
very
are
different
leaving.
topics. I mean, Chris and I turned to each other and said, This was a question about childcare.
They have no more
costs.
money left. But Twitch Prime is free.
Yeah, but I'll note that
If you don't want to see the ads at the top of the hour, here's a 3-minute ad break now.
The Biden campaign agreed to that. They wanted that because they were so frustrated by how that first debate in 2020 went on this issue. And you did see Biden not using his time effectively with those times where Trump was not answering the question. I mean, Trump was asked 3 times if he would accept the results of the 2024 election. Obviously a critical question as we find ourselves in a state where he sought to overturn the election results here and was indicted and had his mugshot taken about 3 miles from where we're sitting right now. And that was not a moment that became a point of focus. It was like watching a debate with someone who is not a convicted felon and is not also under all of these criminal charges. And I think that is a question of why President Biden himself, who brings it up in other moments, did not use it more effectively. They used it in the one moment where he brought up Stormy Daniels as well. Donald Trump denied having sex with her.
What the fuck is this? Polly Market 2024 presidential election winner, Donald Trump 66% plus 44.
But it was something that you see President
Joe
Biden
Biden
talk more
22%,
about
Gavin Newsom 6%.
From the White House or in
Yo,
front of
gruesome Gavin
donors.
Surge. Gavin Surge.
Spin January 6th. I just thought, oh, here we are in one of the most bizarre moments.
This
right?
makes
the
me
idea
so
that
sad. I
actually
hate
on
to see a
January 6th,
king.
there was a lot of good things happening, and if you just think,
I hate to see a king thrive and have his moment in the spotlight and then just like be so sad. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think, dude, so Democratic Party loyalists mostly get their talking points from MSNBC and CNN and New York Times op-ed pieces. So if they are all in unison saying what like we've been saying for fucking months, like what are the guys gonna do? They can't think on their own. They can't come up with like, you know, they can't spin it on their own. They're fucking cooked. They have to be having like this shocking moment, I think, at this point. Stop crying, bruh. Yeah, dude, I'm so fucking sad that everything I've been saying for the past couple of years at this point is like literally unfolding in front of people's eyes. Yeah. All these people that would like, you know, consider what I have to say to be incredibly radical are now like literally repeating it. This is literally 8 months after October 7 all over again. Where do you hear, you know, people repeating the shit that I've been saying for months?
Yeah.
It's a moment of vindication.
Yeah.
Jeff,
I
pre-debate.
mean, you have to start thinking about like how like you can do this. And I think like if Democrats want to convince him to drop out, they have to disguise themselves as somebody who he actually respects and can change his thinking. So if they can convince them that they are the real corn pop, they might actually be able to change his mind.
The winner of tonight's debate from the Democrats. Come on, bro. Moments before this post was made. Yeah. Dude, they should all be collectively deciding who's going to be the next president or who's going to be the next presidential candidate right now instead of fucking posting this shit like they won.
Yeah. Imagine being the intern who had to press send on that.
This is holy fuck. I mean, they don't give a fuck. They're all bloodless in general. They don't give a shit. They'll get clearly the Democratic Party staffers don't fucking want the Democrats to win because they have been showing that time and time again with the demonstration of the worst political instincts I've ever seen from a, you know, modern American political party.
Who should they run? Who do you think they should run?
I mean,
who do you think?
I think you're absolutely right.
Coming on CNN, let's go.
It's Gretch. It's Big Gretch.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, it is.
Very
This is her
popular,
moment.
very important state, and very popular. She's like, she's a woman, so that'll make you know, the Democratic Party look even more woke on abortion.
Yeah. I don't think she would. I think if they asked her about abortion, she wouldn't talk about immigration instead.
Yeah.
Pritzker, he looks like he's pregnant. I'm sorry. I know people are a big fan of him because everybody's from Chicago for some reason. But
I like him because he's fat.
Yeah, I know. That's what's cool about him. He looks like the Kingpin from the
Yeah.
Spider-Man movie, and that's
Like,
really important to me.
I'm not even remotely joking on that. Like, I just like him because he's so fucking fat, and I think that's awesome.
I know. Fetterman used to be like that, but he got really annoying.
Yeah. Yeah, Fetterman just looks like an oaf. He's just like,
I
it's not the
know.
same. Like, Pritzker has like an energy to him.
Yeah. He's like a strength builder in Elden Ring.
We need a Sheldon Whitehouse. That's what we need.
That'd be cool.
Like, dude, anyone. I don't know. Like, literally anyone.
Obama. Bring back Obama.
Yeah, fuck it. Michelle Obama.
Oh, he can't run for a third term. Okay. Who cares?
Anything's better at this point.
Yeah. It would be
Anyway.
kind of, imagine him like winning this year and then he's president until he's like 86. It's gonna get so crazy.
I mean, he's gonna die. No, I'm sorry. Like, I think the Democratic Party is literally looking to like keep him alive, embalmed over the finish line, and then it's over.
Yeah.
Like, he sits down in the White House, or at inauguration, he just perishes. Like, he gets Thanos snapped out of existence.
They're doing it as a challenge run. They're like, it'd be too easy to run. It's like how like people play like video games.
Yeah,
like,
from
with
Elden Ring, yeah, he's doing a fucking, what is it called, SL1?
Yeah, they're doing an SL1 playthrough of the election.
Yeah.
They're playing it with the Donkey Kong bongos.
I don't know. I have nothing else to say. Like, it's just so, like, there was substantive things that we could talk about, but like, I don't think a single person is going to be looking at like the substance. And there were definitely a lot of moments where Donald Trump was just being fucking insane. Like, he started off so strong, which is the most important part, because like that's when everyone is watching, right? Like, the first 30 minutes is the most significant. And he basically dialed it back on the first 30 minutes. He had a couple of really good jabs. Joe Biden flubbed big time in the first 30 minutes. And then he started, you know, maybe overcooking a little bit, Donald Trump, I mean, and started just literally doing ad libs with the word immigrant, like trying to shove the word immigrant into as many conversations as possible. But
yeah, that's part of him trying to be smart Trump. That's like a thing that we're doing. That's how we might choose Burgum. That's smart Trump, when he like had those debate talking points about how he was actually reducing CO2 emissions, like with like pipelines. That was smart Trump. Like, he's overthinking it, and it's kind of lame. But like, and it'd be like, but Biden just can't press him on it.
wait, what? Tara Palmieri? What is Puck News? I mean, is Puck News legit? Now Republicans are starting to get paranoid. Latest text. Honestly, this might have been bad for Trump. Biden may have been so bad they may replace him with someone that could actually beat Trump. I don't know about that. I doubt that they would.
I don't think you really say. Well, I mean, they are kind of convinced that like they're gonna drop him out at any moment. That's kind of real. Like, Republicans like consistently like just have like at high levels have not been willing to believe that like they could actually run Biden.
Dude,
which I think
actually,
says a lot.
Okay, are you ready for this tinfoil hat conspiracy? Gavin Newsom has been suspiciously close to the Biden White House for quite some time. He's always rearing his ugly head. It was a beautiful head, let's be real.
Yeah.
Gavin Newsom has been secretly dipping Visine into Joe Brandon's water. Joe Brandon actually is getting poisoned by Gavin Newsom like he's a 1950s housewife with an abusive husband. Okay? With the hopes that he inevitably perishes. Okay? So that he can become the candidate. Because who do you see the most? You see Gavin the most. He's always
he's
around.
putting in the fucking work. Because he's putting in the work. You can't fault him for that.
Mama Gretch is too busy. She's too busy fucking, you know, being a good governor and shit.
Yeah.
Falling asleep at the wheel a little bit. Gavin Newsom, he's there. He doesn't give a fuck about California. Let me tell you.
Stuff. Yeah. It's not that hard to veto everything.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's only back in California to fucking veto bills like that everyone has democratically voted on 1,000,000 times over.
Yeah.
to refuse the people's will.
Motivate voters in the polls.
I think
Let's hear what he has to say.
Significantly insignificant because it's de minimis because the American people have made up their mind. They don't support the policies of Donald Trump. They certainly don't support.
Damn, bro, he's listening to your Substack.
The American people always wanted this to be states' rights, which was laughable and absurd.
They already made up their
so
minds.
From that perspective, I don't think that will matter. You saw it in all the elections since Dobbs, where Democrats are overperforming.
Facts.
We keep winning, and we have to keep our mind. So I think for all of us, worry less and do more. We have the opportunity to turn the page. We have the opportunity to put our heads down. We have the opportunity to universally have the back of this president who's had our back. You don't turn your back. You go home with the one that brought you to the dance. 100%. all in, and I was very, very proud that he was able to articulate the work that he has done and lay a foundation of understanding of the lies and the deceit that continue to come out of Donald Trump's mouth.
You were out there getting a chorus of questions about whether Biden should step down. There is panic that has set in. There is panic that has set in among people who have watched this debate, who are Democrats, people who are strategists, and some even inside Democratic campaigns. Yeah. Do you think it's unfounded?
Well, I think it's unhelpful, and I think it's unnecessary.
He can even get himself to say unfounded.
We've got to keep our heads high. And as I say, we've got to have the back of this president. You don't turn your back because of one performance. What kind of party does that? It's been a masterclass. 15.6 million jobs. That's 8 times more than the last 3 Republican presidents combined. The only thing the last 3 Republican presidents have in common is recessions. Democrats deliver. This president has delivered. We need to deliver for him at this moment. With all due respect, the more time we start having these conversations, go down these rabbit holes, it's unhelpful to our democracy, our fate and future of this country, the world. They need us right now to step up, and that's exactly what I intend to do.
Not to belabor the point, but I mean, this was a Biden campaign strategy. This was their idea to do this debate now, and I wonder what you think they got out of it. What was Biden's strongest moment from this debate in your mind?
Well, again, back to the substance. He got
stronger. A lot out of it.
He had more stamina over the debate.
But was there one moment that you think sticks?
You know, it's difficult to assess. I need a little bit more objectivity and time away from this in the context of trying to pick those moments.
Bro, he can't spin it. Even he can't spin it, bro. Come on.
This is an opportunity to sort of distill the essence of what this campaign's about. You're hearing the messaging from the campaign distilled down what that key message is. Turn the page. Go to North Carolina tomorrow. We'll get out there on the road. The surrogates need to step up. We need to step in to support this grassroots effort all across the United States. We need to raise money, and we need to understand what's at stake if we don't. We need to understand what's at stake if we turn our back at this critical time. There's too much.
If Biden and Trump are remembered for any particular line, to me it seemed like it would be the line, "I didn't have sex with a porn star," which is not something we've heard on a debate stage before.
No, when you use the words "I didn't have sex with a porn star," you're not winning, you're losing at that case.
Yeah, totally, dude. Keep coping.
I know our friends in New York have questions for you, so if we could go back to New York City.
That dude, it's so bad that like even Rachel Maddow is not talking about it that much. Even like MSNBC's like, yeah, it's fucking over. It's over.
Do what? What do you think that people who support President Biden, people in Democratic politics, people who are planning on voting for him, who are worried that he seemed older than they expected tonight, that he didn't seem to reassure people on stamina issues, as Joy was saying before, what should people
check
do?
with Jocelyn Benson, the Secretary of State
about
of
what
Michigan.
he has done and what he's done recently.
What did she post? Did you link it to me on Discord?
Yeah.
Mood. Team Michigan. What?
It's happening.
Oh God. Oh my God. Get Big Gretch on the phone with the DNC. We need her. Oh, it's happening. America needs a hot president. Like America's way happier when the president's hot. That was Donald Trump's only flaw. He just wasn't hot enough. That's why he's on Ozempic now. And he even brought it up when Joe Biden was fucking fat shaming him. When Joe Biden was fat shaming him, he was like, maybe I'm a little skinnier now.
That's why we need Newsom. Newsom would be a hot president also.
That's true. Yeah. Look at him looking at the camera with his baby eyes.
We need to buck up and focus on what's at stake and not navel gaze and not look back. You look forward. It's always about tomorrow. Everything's about tomorrow.
In terms of bucking up and not navel gaze?
With Donald Trump and his performance tonight and his doubling down on lies and deceit, we have that opportunity
tonight.
To build
the Democratic Party.
He's dick riding too hard. Let's hear Van Jones. Now it's Val Jones. Van Jones.
That we already know that he's older and slower, but what he stands for matters. What he was, if you, as Axelrod said, if you wrote out what he said, if you didn't listen to it, the substance of what he said is true to the Democratic Party. And there's a pushback beginning to say the Democratic Party is too scared to stand up for Joe Biden. Other people will.
Yeah, but Van, can I just respond?
Yes, sir.
Listen, I believe this. I think when we see sort of voter surveys and so on of people who watch the debate and so on, they're going to be a lot different than you might think, because I don't think Donald Trump had a great night, and I think on substance, Biden
Are they doing like JFK cope right now? They're like, oh, well, what if people are listening on the radio?
Oh my God. You would still sound bad.
Oh no. He sounded bad on the radio too, man. What's happening?
So it becomes less an issue about loyalty to one person than to the idea of how much are you willing to fight for.
I just want to give a voice to other folks.
Let me jump in quickly on this point that Van just made, because one of the reasons I started this voter project is Washington is often wrong about these things, so I'm always skeptical when all the elites in Washington or the people who live comfortable lives in Washington. This conversation is not just Washington. I want to make that clear tonight. This is Democrats across the country who are watching, Democrats who live in competitive areas, Democrats who love Joe Biden. It'll be interesting to see how it shakes out. But the other question I would just raise is, so there has to be a conversation with the president after tonight, right? Some of those conversations will be from people who say, sir, you should step aside. But if you want to take Van's position out there, the main organizing impetus in the Democratic Party is keep Donald Trump in retirement, right? Keep him out of the White House. So if you won't step aside, what are the conversations about what to do about tonight? Those will have to happen. So my question for the people who know best, and the one who knows the best is sitting right over there, is who can have that conversation with the president?
Who's the only person in the party?
I mean, Bill Clinton or Barack Obama might call him, but I don't know if that would matter.
There's
Is
one.
it Jill Biden, Ted Kaufman? Who is it?
Yes, yes. Jill Biden is the single most important person in terms of sharing criticism, in terms of being direct, in terms of the opinions. Oh, absolutely, absolutely, yes. And I imagine that there will be serious conversations within the president's inner circle. People like Mike Donnellan, people like Steve Ricchetti, people like Anita Dunn, who will have very direct conversations with the president. He is not somebody who shies away. He is absolutely, I think, as was said
Untrue.
earlier.
That's literally untrue. He's openly sheltered himself from any fucking criticism.
From having tough conversations and having direct feedback.
No.
So yes, absolutely.
No, that's how we got here, because he's not having tough conversations.
Discussions
No,
with
that's
him
cool.
about how to adjust the campaign for this. But I also think, to this point about waiting to see where actual voters land on this, is critically important before the elites sitting at this table determine that the rest of the country hated the performance. I think we got to see what voters have to say.
All right.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, definitely.
Oh, wait, they have the poll?
John.
Do they have the poll?
I want to see.
Oh, damn.
I want to see
the poll.
Dude. When the paid professional dick riders are literally being like, we have to execute him, we have to kill him, we have to push him down a flight of stairs, and then and then also maybe even execute Kamala Harris. I don't know. Like, we have to fix this entirely from the top to bottom. Like, when they're saying shit like that, no, dude. What do you think the average guy is thinking?
Yeah.
We already know. Polls have consistently shown time and time again, the overwhelming majority of likely Democratic Party voters are straight up saying that they think Joe Biden is too old. The polls show that
86% of the public, 86% of people, and they act like that's just like, oh, that's just like one consideration you have to balance out. Oh wait, what?
No, this is heading into
okay.
the night from Kornacki. Poll, not capable of handling the presidency because of age. Joe Biden 45%, Donald Trump 16%.
And it's like, oh, they're almost the same age. It's like they did like in 2016. It's childish. I don't know how they even believe it. It's not what the actual reality is. It's like perception. That's all that's ever mattered in politics. If you said back in 2020 that oh, people might not like Medicare for all, but it's the better policy, they would have laughed at you. But for some reason now, it's acceptable to be like, oh, well, Joe Biden's actually a good president, so it doesn't matter what people think. I thought that the whole point of this was that you're supposed to actually meet people where they are. Since when did we become fucking babies about this? Come on.
I mean, it's always been the underlying basis of the mentality the Democratic Party routinely represents, which is you have to vote for us. If you vote for us, we can win. The entitlement is actually seeped into orifices that it normally did not operate inside of, where at least there was a level of competence demonstrated by the likes of Hillary Clinton to a certain degree, even though she was unlikable and a representation of elite politics or whatever, but she was at least obviously not deteriorating in front of our fucking eyes.
Lady. She won the first debate in a landslide.
So ultimately, right? It doesn't now it's gotten to a point where it's no, you have to vote for this carcass. maybe if you vote for this carcass, like, we'll save democracy. It's like, bro, at a certain point, you got to swap the shit out because Americans don't vote like that.
In your own best interest, because like, I mean, I guess like their Senate candidates are doing fine, but it's like, it doesn't help the party to have like this unviable person. Oh, they got this shit out quickly.
Bro,
Like,
Nicholas
wow,
Kristof wrote an article before Brandon was done going home. President
Damn, they
Biden,
had the
I've
shit
seen
prepared.
enough. Oh my God. Oh, it's so done.
Oh, the knives are out, huh?
Oh my God, dude. They're
I
just
didn't have
ageist.
anything prepared. Everybody thinks I'm a hater. I didn't have like some article like in the drafts for this. These people are really, they're fake friends.
Yeah, I mean, holy fuck, this is so bad. They have to, you know, they have to do something.
I want to see what the polling is like.
Oh, I know. I don't know why they haven't shown it yet. They're hiding the truth from us. Oh, let's hear what fucking she has to
have
say.
him out there and
Oh.
active and doing a lot of events and being very visible, right? And Nicole said this earlier, the best thing you can do as a communicator, if you're advising him, is change the subject, right? Is there an announcement you can make? Is there a big surrogate? Is there a Republican who's a surprise? I mean, if Chris Christie is waiting in the wings to endorse, tomorrow is the day. So, you know, I don't know what they have
Oh, yeah,
up
that's
their
what we've been
sleeves,
waiting
but that's
for.
what they need. I will also say, and I
He's
don't know the answer to
10%
this, so I'm
approval
posing it
rating
to you all know.
nationally.
I don't know
What
when.
did you say?
Oh, it's like Chris Christie. Chris Christie's the most unpopular person in the country.
Yeah. Oh,
Everybody hates him.
oh, here's Kamala Harris.
Inside the Democratic Party
Oh,
right
here,
now
let's
because
hear what this charisma suck has to say.
debate. He's been hearing from Democratic lawmakers and others around the country.
You know she's excited.
Some within your own party are wondering if President Biden should even step aside. What do you say to that?
Listen, first of all, what we saw tonight is the president making a very clear contrast with Donald Trump on all of the issues that matter to the American
On mental deterioration.
There was a slow start, but it was a strong finish. And what became very clear through the course of the night is that Joe Biden is fighting on behalf of the American people, on substance, on policy, on performance. Joe Biden is extraordinarily strong. And
But
that,
I'm sorry,
that
on
cannot
substance
be
and
debated.
policy and performance tonight, I mean, the president's performance tonight clearly was disappointing for his supporters. CNN is reporting Democratic lawmakers watching the debate were worried about the president's performance. One said it was a disaster. Another called it a train wreck. Those are Democrats especially worried that Biden did not punch back.
How
on
hard
Trump's
is she
lies.
holding back?
Listen, people can debate on style points, but ultimately this election and who is the president of the United States has to be about substance. And the contrast is clear. Look at what happened during the course of the debate. Donald Trump lied over and over and over again, as
This is
he
the
is
narrative?
wont to do. He would not disavow what happened
Well,
on
we'd rather
January
look
6th.
at stuff
He would
differently than how
not
they actually do, so we're not going to change anything.
stand by the election results this November.
Also, even on substance, like, the Democratic Party sucks. What do you mean? Immigration is a massive fucking problem in the way, like, a political problem, right? And, like, their solution is awful.
Completely ambiguous and all over the place about where he stands on that issue, despite the fact that he hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade, and that's exactly what they did. And just 3 years ago, we commemorated the 2-year anniversary of Dobbs, wherein women across our country have been denied emergency health care, have
All that may be
suffered
true. All
miscarriages
that
to
may
the
be
point that
true.
Bro, she's suffering from, you know how, like, there's an Adderall shortage? She's suffering from the benzo shortage. She's actually fucking alert
to
right
Donald
now.
Trump on the stage tonight. I mean, you debated against
He ate all of his medicine.
then Vice President Trump. Excuse me,
Yeah,
Vice
Trump
President
got into
Biden
the medicine cabinet
years ago.
or not Trump, I mean
And
Biden.
He was a very
Yeah.
different person on the stage 4 years ago when you debated him. You must. I mean, that's certainly true, is it not?
Anderson, the point has to be performance in terms of what a president does. A
Right,
president
but
who
that is
incites
what is
an
scary for
insurrection
people
against the
watching this.
Capitol. No, but I got the point that you're making about a 1.5-hour debate tonight. I'm talking about
It was too long.
3.5 years of performance in work that has been historic.
But is
Whether
that
it be
the man who
infrastructure,
we
the
saw
former
on the
guy, the
stage
other guy,
tonight? Is that the
the other
person
guy
you
on
see
the
in
debate
meetings every day?
stage. The person that you saw on the debate stage that has, for the last 3.5 years, up until today, performed in a way that has been about, whether it be in the Oval Office, negotiating bipartisan deals so that we have an infrastructure, a real infrastructure plan where we're putting trillions of dollars on the streets of America to upgrade our infrastructure. Whether it be the person I see in the Oval Office who is meeting with heads of the military and the intelligence community and in the Situation Room, ensuring the safety of America. The person I see in Joe Biden on the world stage, convening world leaders who often ask for his advice, most recently just during the G7 conference. So I'm not going to spend all night with you talking about the last 90 minutes when I've been watching the last 3.5 years of performance.
But this was a debate that your campaign wanted. You pushed for this debate at this moment. Obviously, I mean, you can't honestly say, I mean, can you say that you are not concerned at all having watched the president's performance tonight?
Oh, it's so bad.
It was a slow start. That's obvious to everyone. I'm not going to debate that point. I'm talking about the choice in November. I'm talking about one of the most important elections in our collective lifetime. And do we want
they're trying to own it?
to
It's probably a better idea than
look
fucking
at
avoiding
what
reality.
November will bring and go on a course for America that is about a destruction of democracy, electing a man who has said he'll be a dictator on day one? Or do we want to continue on a course that's about strengthening America's economy, building and creating 15 million
She's just
Americans?
talking about the talking points. She can't even do it. She can't resort back to anything
I got
else.
that this is the
said it was a
afterplay
slow
for the debate,
start.
this conversation that I'm in. And I understand why everyone wants to talk about it. But I think it's also important to recognize that the choice in November between these two people that were on the debate stage involves extraordinary stakes. And there's one person on that stage who has the endorsement of their
Are you ready? They invoke the 25th Amendment. Okay.
Yes.
They invoke the 25th Amendment on Joe Biden, which is something that they wanted to do to Trump. The Democratic Party tries to do this. And then it doesn't, I don't know what the process looks like, but it would be very funny if the Republicans somehow stopped it from happening because they think he's the perfect.
Yeah, they could, I think. Yeah, because you need the cabinet members to vote in favor of it, and then I think the Congress has to vote in favor of it too. So they could keep him in power, I think.
Yeah. This is awesome. Also, it's wild to see CNN be so contentious to a bunch of fucking to a bunch of liberals. Like, it's just, you know, they're just hitting him on like a lot of stuff that they would normally be super nice about.
51 years, and it was taken away because this guy put very conservative members on the Supreme Court. He takes credit for taking it away. What's he going to do? What's he going to do, in fact, if the MAGA Republicans, he gets elected, and the MAGA Republicans control the Congress, and they pass a universal ban on abortion, period, across the board at 6 weeks or 7 or 8 or 10 weeks, something very, very conservative. Is he going to sign that bill? I'll veto it. He'll sign it.
To someone who watched this debate tonight and has serious concerns about the President of the United States, what do you say to them about what they just saw?
They saw they witnessed the fact that if Donald Trump were elected to be president of the United States this November, he will sign a national abortion ban. Take him at his word. He said he would when he was president before. He said if it came to his desk, he'd sign it. There's no reason to believe anything would change. A national abortion ban means that folks in New York, California, Maryland, all these other states that have protected the right of a woman to make decisions about her own body and not have her government tell her what to do will be at risk. That's what you should take away from that discussion.
And just finally,
Joe Biden was very clear. He
will
sign back into law the protections of Roe v. Wade.
The person we saw tonight,
issues,
the president we saw tonight on that stage, is that how he is every day?
The Joe Biden that I work with every day is someone who, as I have said, has performed in a way that has been about bringing people into the Oval Office, Republicans
That was a
and
great
Democrats,
way to ask that question. Anderson
compromise
Cooper's
in
such a
way
piece
that
of shit,
is
dude. He's
extraordinary
so
these days
good
because it
when he
just
wants
doesn't
to
happen,
be.
but Joe Biden can make it happen. The Joe Biden I see is someone who goes to our allies around the world and strengthens NATO to the point that there are 2 new members of NATO who just about 4 years ago, people said, is NATO even have a reason for
Yeah,
existing?
I'm a Rust Belt voter, and this is exactly why I'm voting for Joe Biden, because he brought in Sweden and Finland into NATO.
Yeah.
Thank God.
I'm a Harry Truman Democrat.
Yeah. The fucking dollar menu is like $8, but you know what, dude? I'm voting. I'm voting
No,
for the
nobody-
NATO thing. Thank
Yeah.
God.
They said that Sweden is in NATO now. Holy shit. Did you know Finland was historically neutral?
Oh wow, what a fucking own, dude. Thank you, Joe Biden.
You know he sent $200 billion to Ukraine and they're losing?
No, that's why. Oh, dude, Donald Trump hit that line so well when he's like, "This guy
They wouldn't have done
Zelensky,
it.
he comes in, he's the greatest salesman." And then he even turned around and was like kind of more moderate about it too. I'm not even saying it's bad.
Yeah, he's trying to be smart, Trump. This convinced me he's going to pick Doug because he was trying to be smart. He was trying to be wise.
Yeah, dude, Bergamaniacs, we are rising up. I'm not even, I'm unironically a Bergamaniac. We've been really excited at the prospect.
Yeah, he's in
Here
the
at
top
this community.
now. It'd be funny if Trump picks Vance and like totally blows this. Like the headlines just all become about how like he picked a guy who's like an apologist for rape.
Oh yeah, JD Vance is also so ugly.
Oh, yeah.
He's just, he's not like Burgum. Burgum's hot.
No,
Trump
yeah,
needs a hot
Burgum.
guy. Trump needs a
Burgum's got
hot
that
guy.
Brezhnev riz.
Also, Burgum is like, I feel like cutting out the middleman. You know what I mean? JD Vance is like the middleman for Peter Thiel. Burgum himself is the billionaire, and he's like tapped in with the fucking Bill Gates of the world. You know?
Yeah. I did see Ben Rhodes, who's like a really close Obama guy, was like telling people they didn't see what they saw is not the way to respond to this. I'm hoping that this is like some like deep shit with about Obama, like how H.W. Bush, whenever he wanted to say something, he would always get like one of his boys, like Brent Snowcroft, to write some like article, and it was understood that that's what like H.W. Bush thought. I'm hoping that that's the case with Ben Rhodes, but I mean, I don't know.
No, yeah.
I think Obama could save this. House Democrats are saying we need Whitmer. I met like a member of the House of Representatives on a train once, and I Whitmer pilled them.
What is this? Major, I asked, what is this? I asked Governor Gavin Newsom, are you going to be the next Democratic nominee? That's his answer while he's glowing.
Are you going to be the next Democratic nominee?
No, our nominee is Joe Biden. I'm looking forward to voting for him in November. He's going to be our nominee.
Because you know that everyone are talking about you as a possible nominee now.
Oh my God, bro. He can't even hide it. Look at his
smiling.
fucking smile ear to ear. Bro, that's okay. That's fucked up. That's fucked up, dude.
This is Game of Thrones shit.
Bro, Kamala is so not ready for this moment, by the way. I thought
she's
maybe
not.
she would be. I feel like Kamala Harris is such a fucking loser. Like, even she knows she's not getting this slot. Like,
yeah, she's gonna lose the contested convention.
Oh, dude, it's Gavin Newsom time.
Are you enjoying it?
We're going up here? Thanks, guys.
Are you going to be the next?
He laughs at the end. Oh.
He is floating right now. He is so happy.
Oh my God. He's like, all the Visine I've secretly put into Joe Biden's water. Really pushing him over the edge. Oh, okay. All right. Well, Kamala could have said he had a cold. She doesn't even know the leaks. I know. He is fucking scheming, dude. Gavin Newsom, you scumbag. Gavin Newsom has so many negatives, I think. Like, that's why, unlike Gretchen Whitmer, I think like Gavin Newsom,
Oh no.
under a normal situation, Gavin Newsom would be a fucking dog shit candidate, in my opinion. Specifically
I don't
because
know. I mean, the thing is with him is that he never tries. And then when they did the recall against him and he did try, he actually had a good result with that. But then in 2022, he didn't try and he did shit. So I don't know. Maybe if he locks in, maybe we haven't seen his full power.
But I mean, like, he's dog shit in the sense that, like, he has so many weaknesses, I think.
Yeah.
Like, one, being obviously being like the governor of California. A lot of the country looks at California as like this bedlam, like lawless land where, you know, immigrant homeless people are walking around like zombies and speaking languages you've never heard before and fucking killing people, right? Like, they think like people are doing the knockout game outside of my fucking door right now to the old white ladies. So there's that. California also has like real problems in terms of the homelessness issue. The housing market is absolutely fucked. So I feel like you have like all of the social issues that many of the even swing states would be like, oh, we don't really like that much. But then beyond that, you could just like talk about how bad the housing market is. And, you know, the campaign against them would be, don't make my country look like California, because everyone's understanding of California is Skid Row. Like, everywhere in California is Skid Row.
Yeah, you don't run like the governor of Arkansas for like the Republican nominee. Like, you don't do that.
Yeah. So
Michigan is kind of nice. They got like nice like beaches there. They got nice woods.
Yeah. Axios has comments from the Dem U.S. House Reps, by the way. What they're saying: one House Democrat described the president's debate performance as awful, exclaiming, "What the fuck? I am in a state of shock," said another. Why are you shocked? I fucking hate these pieces of shit. How are you shocked? That's how he is.
They've been in La La Land. It's like they just hear them say, oh, Biden's actually really sharp behind closed doors, and they legitimately believed it.
I just don't understand it. Like, are you never around him? Like, what's happening? You never see him? You don't see any videos? When Karine Jean-Pierre says it's actually AI, you think that it's actually AI? Is that what you think is going on?
Yeah, well, he doesn't meet anybody, so I guess they assumed he had to be. It's like too big to fail. It's like, well, he wouldn't be running if he was really that bad. It's like he wouldn't be that irresponsible.
Yeah, they have no understanding that like Joe Biden can be just as narcissistic and like childlike as Donald Trump. They don't think about that. Like it's like not in their realm of comprehension that like this guy could be just holding on for dear life at this thing because out of pure resentment, pure spite.
Yeah. That would be kind of cool if it wasn't for like how consequential it is.
One female House Democrat said it's time for a woman to save both these men from their misery. President Whitmer has a strong ring to it, referring to Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer.
Whitmentum.
Yeah. They're saying it. They're saying Big Gretch all around the halls of Congress. Yeah, it's I don't know. Do we even talk about the policy, the substance? Like, it was.
Well, he said he was the most pro-Israel president in his one moment of lucidity.
Yeah. I'm glad that he woke up for that one where he was like, they gyrated on that shit. They were like, I knew it was going to be a fucking slop job. Like, they were going to be fucking panicking on who gets to talk about how much they want to suck Benjamin Netanyahu's dick harder. And they showed up for that. I'm glad that they did that. They went hard on that.
Yeah, I'm checking my DMs. We are cooked, brother. It's never been more over.
Yeah, so, no, I've been getting text messages nonstop. Like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
What am I looking at?
Yeah. Newsom is at like 20 cents in like the presidential betting odds, which I think that's just MAGA money. I don't think that's real, but it is kind of funny.
Yeah.
The 35 uncommitted delegates deciding the contested convention.
A chatter asks, can you explain Charlottesville comparison to the Palestine thing? I didn't understand that. Yes.
In
the media circles. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. He was saying that the pro-Palestine encampments and like protest are equivalent to the Charlottesville riots.
Yeah,
that was his.
Because in media circles, and not because if you're getting everything filtered through the lens of this broadcast, like you get a very different perspective. But like in mainstream media, it is not even discussed as anything but like deeply anti-Semitic. Those college protests are seen by those over the age of 35 as like the most anti-Semitic thing anyone has ever done. Like, that's why when I cover like the LA synagogue protests where they were just like trying to sell real estate in the fucking West Bank, like stolen real estate, the way that they covered it in mainstream media from Fox News all the way to Morning Joe was like, they are attacking synagogues because Jewish people are trying to pray in there. Like they don't.
They said it was a pogrom.
Yeah, no. Van Jones literally called it a pogrom.
Yeah.
That's what he said. He said like walking in. He said going to a neighborhood, a Jewish neighborhood with a keffiyeh is akin to waving the fucking Confederate flag in a black neighborhood. That's what he said.
Yeah. It's just he's really like a deep sleeper cell at this point.
Oh, now they're doing the fact checks. Oh, here we go. Finally.
Well, yeah, that's going to work. It's only taken 10 years.
Under Trump in 2018.
I love that everybody, even the Democrats, wanted Roe overturned. Like, no one believes that. It doesn't matter. I don't think Republicans believe that. I have not met... Dude, that is the worst way to try to defend this position, which is, like, pretty indefensible in general. But I'm kind of shocked that they couldn't come up with anything better. Like, it's states' rights, and also everybody, all the legal scholars wanted to overturn Roe v. Wade. That's what he keeps going with? Like, that's so bad, brother. That is so cooked.
Stuff he said, I mean, it wasn't exactly 200 million, but it's like 150 billion.
His own campaign cannot corroborate this. He said Biden has only created jobs for illegal immigrants. Total nonsense. He said Nancy Pelosi turned down his offer of 10,000 National Guard troops on January 6th. There's no evidence she even got such an offer. It was the president, not Pelosi, who had the power to deploy the D.C. Guard. He said Pelosi now acknowledges she turned down the troops. No, her office tells me this claim is still a lie. He said he deployed the National Guard to Minneapolis in 2020. Actually, that was the Democratic governor. He spoke of, quote, ridiculous fraud in the 2020 election. Zero evidence of any widespread fraud. He said NATO was going out of business before he took office. Completely, clearly absurd. He said the U.S. was paying 100% of NATO before he came along. The U.S. made up about 71% of NATO defense spending, not 100. He said he, not Biden, is the one who lowered insulin prices in Medicare. He did it for some seniors, but Biden did it for far more. He said Biden indicted him again. No,
even the fact checks are fucking kind of like...
Any of these 4 prosecutions. He said Europe takes no U.S. cars, just not true. He spoke of food prices quadrupling under Biden. That's a wild exaggeration, though they are up. He said Biden made up the idea he called dead service members suckers and losers. No, the Atlantic magazine reported that, and then former Trump chief of staff John Kelly.
Dude, these fact checkers are actually kind of not even cooking Trump a little bit. Like, they're like, oh, it's only 71%. Like, come on, bro.
For 10 years, though he did at least once speak of, quote, predators
he didn't
without
have
specifying it was
water.
about black people. He said his Trump tax cut was the largest in U.S. history. Not true, though, in fairness. Biden also said this. Trump said China and others stopped buying from Iran under him. China never stopped. He revived his pet lie. I don't know how many times I've done it, that he signed the Veterans Choice Program into law. Barack Obama did that in 2014. Trump signed an expanded version in 2018. And finally, Trump said Biden got rid of that veterans program. Biden has not done that.
All right. Well, Daniel Dale, thank you very much going through every single one of those clearly.
Dude.
Long list.
Dude, that was the worst fact checking I've ever seen.
Yeah, they were just like going by the numbers there. They weren't really trying.
That's
little
crazy.
Marco.
Like
little Marco.
Appearance of everything as we've been talking about.
That's the vice president you're talking to. That's the next vice president. No, he's not getting that.
Points. Does that give you pause?
Well, first of all, some of those things, like the last one he talked about was the VA choice. The VA choice program has actually not been fully implemented. It's been undermined in its implementation. So I think what Donald Trump is saying is that basically this was in place, it was expanded. The Biden administration has actually slowed it down and impeded its implementation. I don't remember all 30 of them he went through, and obviously we don't have to go through the Biden ones either. Suffice it to say that I think tonight, we all are in politics. I'm in office, you guys cover it. But there are millions of people watching who basically want to ask themselves, were we better off under Trump or were we better off under Biden? Did I have more money in my pocket? Was the world safer and more secure? Was the country safer and more secure? And I just think more and more Americans are concluding that they were better off in the 4 years Trump was president than in the 4 years.
Damn, why is he being nice? Why is he not cooking Biden right now?
That's the core issue of this campaign that's going to decide it.
Even with COVID? I mean, it was bad.
Yeah, COVID was bad, but Trump didn't create COVID. COVID impacted the entire planet.
But that was how people felt. That was what they lived through.
Sure, but I mean, what does Trump have to do with COVID? He didn't invite. And on the contrary, I vividly recall when he implemented the travel ban from China. I want to say January, maybe February of that year. It was Nancy Pelosi and people like that were criticizing. I think Biden called him a xenophobe for the China ban. We wish he would have done it earlier in hindsight. I mean, he invested a massive amount of money, which we had to do, in Operation Warp Speed that came up with not 1, but 3 vaccines. So if you think about our efforts and the Patient Protection Program, which is bipartisan, but his administration was a key part of, saved Main Street America when everything was being shut down, including states that were shut down for a year. So even those things he doesn't get enough credit for. But obviously, COVID was an anomaly in human history, something that happens once every 100 years and hopefully never happens again. But overall, people have recollections of those years in which they had more money in their pocket. That's a fact.
So I want to ask you about some things as you sit here as his surrogate that he said tonight that are important to you. And I want to start with NATO. The issue of NATO came up and what he thinks about NATO. I want to play that for you, Senator.
Okay.
This is a guy who wants to get out of NATO. Are you going to stay in NATO?
Wait, he didn't even say anything. That's just Biden.
Are you okay with that? He shrugged.
Well, I think this is the negotiator in him. I was in the Senate when he was the president, and he would talk to these guys not like a politician would normally, but he basically is trying to negotiate so that our partners do more. Interestingly enough, the Eastern European countries all punch above their weight in terms of how much they contribute. Poland is an example. The Western European countries have been slower to come to the table and do more. Now, Germany's got going after the Ukraine, and others have gotten going a little bit more. But the truth of the matter is that NATO has been an unbalanced alliance for a substantial period of time. And we tolerated it during the Cold War, but now I think that has to be re-examined. So it's not so much about getting out of NATO, but you have to use some sort of leverage and negotiating tactic to force countries that have these massive social safety nets to spend a little bit more money on their own defense.
So you see it as negotiating. I mean, I know you led legislation that would have required an act of Congress before a president of the United States could...
My controversial opinion is that Donald Trump is actually right about demanding more money from other NATO partners because America is a dying empire and that like this is a protection racket ultimately. A protection racket that benefits the military industrial complex. But like he literally is just like demanding more money from those guys. Like he's just like, no, you got to pay more. You got to pay more for American weapons. I think that's what he's saying.
Military capability and other French capability and other military capabilities from multiple European countries.
Just like just like his opinion on the tariffs, just like his opinion on the fucking tariffs, like, you know, the Biden administration basically adopted that position. And even with respect to like NATO, I think I wouldn't be shocked if like, I mean, we know since Ukraine, European allies, as Marco Rubio correctly pointed out, have literally paid more into NATO. They have started developing their own weapons more. They've also started pulling their own weight, I guess. Like they obviously I disagree with the underlying premise that NATO should exist. But if you are like an American general, I suspect that you don't necessarily have that much of an issue with Donald Trump saying like, oh, European countries need to put in more to NATO.
Yeah. And the shit with that, and not a lot of people know this, but they did pass a law in Congress that said you can't withdraw from NATO without the Senate agreeing to it. So like in terms of that being a legitimate issue, it like doesn't really exist.
Oh yeah, no, that of course, it's American foreign policy. That's fucking bullshit. Anyone who thinks that like a president can change alter the trajectory of American foreign policy, especially like one of the most significant aspects of American foreign policy, is delusional, I think. I mean, that's just not a thing that will ever happen. Anyway.
I'm not trying to evade you. I honestly don't know who he's going to pick. And, you know, those are things that you have to make a decision on. Then we'll figure out whoever it is that they pick, what it is they need to do to make their candidacy possible. But ultimately, I think, and I'm not trying to get back to this debate because I do think it's an important night. Maybe this is the last debate. I don't know. I hope it's not. But if it is, I think there's an element here that, look, I don't take glee in it in saying this, but clearly the president struggled tonight. And I do worry about the impact.
He's being so nice. Why is he being so nice?
In Tehran, in places where Moscow, where adversaries see that, and perhaps
what?
Because he knows Doug already took that shit. He has nothing left to live
United
for.
States because they feel our president is.
I mean, it's definitely not him. Out of all this, out of all the picks, like he's the one guy I don't think he's ever had a shot.
I haven't watched what people are saying on the shows, but we saw that tonight, and I do think that's a factor here. I really do.
All right. Well, Senator Rubio, I appreciate your time, and thank you very much. And coming up, the results of our flash poll of voters' opinions of tonight's debate. Our David Chalian is going to join us with all of the numbers, the details, the analysis after this.